Hi there.
Hi, you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Sounds like it.
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Bolinas Community Public Utility District. Today is June the 17th. Yep, and the recording is in progress. The four directors are present and director Divino. With that, go to community expression. Is there any member of the audience that wishes to address the board on a subject which is not on the agenda and for which we can take no action, but would entertain a brief discussion on the subject of your interest? Anybody have a community expression item? None appearing. I'll move on to consider whether we should amend the order of items in the agenda.
Yes, please. So I think that we need to do our public hearing first. So
Okay.
that's, so this would be right after number 1. Can we please move up? Item number 14, MWPA roadside tree removal project completion update and community discussion regarding herbicide use. So that would be 14 right between 1 and 2.
Need a vote on that.
Yeah, I think so.
I move to move item 14 up the agenda between items 1 and 2.
There's a second on that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any other items to be adjusted?
I don't know. Kristen, did you want your B-Dog item moved up?
Did she request it to be?
I think Sherry would prefer if it's earlier than
Okay,
later, so
Then I would ask that item 15 be moved up the agenda before item number 14.
Or if we after, right after 14.
We'll still have to wait a little longer.
Okay, so I guess we need a motion on whether it goes before or after number 14. Anybody have a preference on that?
I don't have a preference. I would say after.
After, okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank
You
you.
want to make a motion to that effect?
Yes, I would move it. What item is it? I apologize.
15.
Item 15, up the agenda behind the recently moved item 14,
Okay,
between 1 and 2.
is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any other items to get changed in the order? None appearing, we'll move on to action items. Okay, number 1 on our agenda is, this is a public hearing on draft fiscal year 2026-2027 budget. Our budget committee has met and has drafted a proposed budget. We've circulated it to the community. And this is an opportunity for members of the community to comment on the budget and express their views one way or the other. In our binder, we do have a letter from one member of the community about an item on the budget. And
Yeah, second protest letter.
In addition to those, is anybody present at the meeting that would like to address the board on our proposed budget? Okay, no discussion appearing. Do we want to talk about the concerns of people who have written to us, or the fact that we've just had?
Well, so I guess, I guess what I was thinking is that we've accepted the letters of protest. Those are in the public record, but because we get to the actual approval of the budget later on, would it not make more sense to just read those in the context of the budget when you guys are looking to discuss the budget and approve
Yeah,
them?
I think that's a good idea.
I would like, if it's okay, can we hear those?
Yeah, we will hear them at that
later.
point.
Does that mean we'll be able to comment on them later? or-
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
when we're discussing
during the
that
discussion.
item, because it's just like a matter of structure that we need to receive these protests at the top of the meeting,
I
but
think,
they're really relevant to an item, which is basically the passage of the budget later
Okay.
on in the meeting. And so I think it makes more sense to read them in the context of the actual
right,
budget.
because I did have some comments, but only if we're gonna do the whole conversation, so I'll wait.
Okay.
Okay. So that is the end of item 1, and then we're gonna move on to item 14, which we just advanced. And item 14 is NWPA roadside tree removal project completion update and community discussion regarding herbicide use. So maybe I'll start with you, Georgia, and then we'll open it to the audience.
Yeah, and actually we have a few people here for this item. We have Chief Krakauer here. We have Caitlin, is it Jalarian? Sorry. And
Yes, hello.
from Panorama, and Ann Krelock from Marin Wildfire Protection Authority. I think George was going to speak first to the project scope and purpose, and then I will present, and then Caitlin will present, and then we have opportunity for the public to speak.
All right.
All right, so I just, wanted to provide a little bit of context to the project, since I haven't been at a board meeting, but I know you guys have been discussing it. And for the audience, so within the last 3 years, alone, the Bolinas Fire Department has responded to multiple large eucalyptus and cypress trees that have fallen and blocked both Lima Bolinas and Mesa Road. The large diameter of these trees and the proximity to the power lines leave us basically relying on PG&E to de-energize lines and clear lines before we can even begin to start cutting out the tree and reopening the road. Most of these trees are so large in diameter that they require specialized equipment, professional sawyers to clear the trees after PG&E has cleared their lines. And sometimes this takes days. I think we've all probably experienced this. 2 winters ago, one large eucalyptus fell on Lima Bolinas that took down 4 utility poles heading into town, and the Lima Bolinas was closed for several days. The same has happened multiple times on Mesa Road, as well as Terrace Avenue. So basically, in an attempt to make the 2 main evacuation roads into town safer, Bolinas Fire worked with BCPUD and MWPA with discussions with Bolinas Eucalyptus Project, the County Department of Public Works, PG&E, to create a limited scope tree removal and pruning project. The project was designed using 2 hazard tree reports that were previously prepared for BCPUD. Those 2 reports were with those 2 reports, we collectively identified all trees in poor or declining health that, if they fell, would impact the road and or power lines. And basically potentially closing the road for several days potentially. From that, initially 27 trees were identified for removal and 4 for targeted prune, basically limbs that were overhanging the road that could take out the power line. During the project, 3 additional trees were noted for removal and 3 were identified for targeted prune. Several additional trees were noted, roadside trees were noted in these 2 reports, but because of their close proximity to power lines, they needed to be addressed by PG&E, and they have been doing so and will continue to do so. So after almost 2 years of preparation and planning, work began late April and concluded in the first week of June. Throughout the process, we met with Mia Monroe, Stu Weiss in regards to monarch butterfly habitat. We consulted and worked with Panorama Environmental, provided weekly bird surveys, and followed all environmental sound practices outlined in the California Vegetation Treatment Program. I understand there's some concern in regards to the target application of herbicide, the herbicide R14, which we will speak to. Overall, I believe the project was a huge success, and we accomplished a lot. And my hope is that others in this room and in the community feel the same, understanding that there's some concerns and it's maybe not perfect, but we'll discuss specific, in regards to the Garland, application, Georgia and Caitlin following. That's all I have for now is just sort of the intro to the project and how we got where we are now.
Okay, so I'm just gonna present here on, and if you don't mind, I'm just gonna share a memo. Hopefully the board and others in the room can see this. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, wait, small, but I'm gonna read it anyway. So the purpose of this agendized item was to provide a final summary of the completed MWPA, BFPD, BCPUD hazardous roadside tree removal project, and George outlined much of that, just now. Second is to clarify when and how the decisions regarding herbicide use were agendized and made public. 3, support informed board and community understanding of the project. Establish a framework for ongoing discussion, future decision-making, and community input regarding herbicide use and alternative methods for preventing eucalyptus resprouting, including consideration of efficacy, upfront costs, and long-term management requirements. And with regard to that 4th item, I just want to say that the project that was a collaboration between MWPA and the Bolinas Fire Protection District is effectively complete. That herbicide has been applied in a targeted manner. There's not really a lot of value in rehashing exactly what happened, but in as much as there are future projects that propose removing further trees, then it obviously all becomes relevant again, right? In terms of how are we going to prevent resprouting? And in which case I would just encourage the public to maintain, remain informed so that you're aware of when those discussions are happening, and you will be able to more proactively impact the decision making than obviously after the fact. And so that's the primary purpose of what I'm trying to relay here is how that public outreach happened, how those decisions were made in a public forum, and where in the future that decision-making process happens again, you are aware of it and are able to, join those meetings and express yourself and bring forward alternatives to herbicide application and argue further efficacy and etc. So the background here, and this is sorry for repeating some of what George has already stated, but BCPUD has coordinated with Bolinas Fire Protection District and Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority to address hazardous eucalyptus trees along key roadways under the Governor's Emergency Executive Order allowing expedited removal. The board directed that this work proceed as a phased, safety-focused effort separate from the broader Bolinas Eucalyptus project. So that's the broad context here. And so board direction and project development. So in May 21, 2025, at a regular meeting, the board paused the broader eucalyptus project and prioritized the hazardous roadside tree removal that George just described. At the November 19th, 2025 regular meeting, staff presented identification of approximately 80 to 120 hazardous trees and outlined scope, funding, and approach. That was again those trees that George was talking about, and they got pared down because some of them couldn't be removed because they were too close to power lines, etc. Okay. And then the herbicide use agendized and board action. So on March 13th, 2026, a pre-meeting notification went out. The agenda was posted in accordance with Brown Act requirements. It was publicly noticed. Those notices went out to Nextdoor, Bolinas Hearsay News, and other community channels. The agenda item was explicitly described as follows, and it was made very long and it's a mouthful because we wanted to impart to the community what the decision that was being made at this meeting was. So update from the general manager regarding the BCPUD BFPD hazardous tree project with MWPA. Consider approval of a one-time exception to resolution 538 for targeted cut stump application of triclopyr garland 4 based on findings that non-chemical alternatives are ineffective for eucalyptus regeneration control, and that the selected herbicide is classified as low toxicity herbicide when used in a targeted cut stump application. So March 18 is when that regular meeting happened. And I would encourage people that are interested in this topic to go back and look at that meeting where we discussed it extensively. So March 18th, 2026, regular board meeting agenda item. At this meeting, staff presented project details and technical considerations. Findings included that eucalyptus species are highly prone to vigorous resprouting, which can result in ongoing costly long-term management if not effectively treated. Findings are indicated that a single targeted herbicide application is highly effective method for preventing regrowth. Information regarding environmental and health considerations associated with herbicide use was also presented, along with supporting technical material and primary source references. Public comment was invited and received prior to board action. The board approved a one-time project-specific exception to Resolution 538. This meeting constituted the formal decision point for allowance for herbicide application. So then after that decision, what we did was we started to alert the public of the planned herbicide application. So post-approval communications and notifications occurred in April 2026. So following board action, additional notifications were provided to inform the public of implementation timing, including next door postings that occurred on April 14th, on-site signage, door hangers to the impacted individuals that were within the vicinity of the targeted application. These notifications were implementation notices, not additional decision points, consistent with notification procedures outlined in Resolution 538 and with MWPA herbicide policies. So the project implementation, that's actually when the project was undertaken. That was end of April and through May. MWPA contractor completed removal of the hazardous roadside trees along Mesa Road and Alima Bolinas Road, and the targeted cut stump herbicide application only. No broadcast foliar or aerial herbicide use occurred. No repeated application, only a single treatment to the cut stumps. The project completion summary, I'm not going to go over this because George already laid that out very clearly. But I'm going to move on to this herbicide use scope and basis. Herbicide use was limited, targeted, and one time. And I'm repeating myself here, but I think it's really important for people to understand this. Applied only to the freshly cut stumps to prevent regrowth. No ongoing or programmatic use was proposed or happened. Consistent with Resolution 538, non-chemical methods were evaluated and found ineffective. Triclopyr garland Ford identified as the least toxic effective option, and required noticing and public process were completed. So I wanted to, because we were obviously keeping an eye on what was occurring on, next door, etc. And there were some things that people were, either confused about, and I just wanted to clarify those specific items. So herbicide application, the product he used, once again, was garland 4, not glyphosate Roundup. So I heard people talking about that, the project was using Roundup, and that's not correct. The method was targeted cut stump only. So some people were talking about, broadcast spray, and that was not accurate. The project roles. The project was led and funded by MWPA in collaboration with BFPD and BCPUD. BCPUD did not fund the project or oversee permitting, but did have policy oversight as related to Resolution 538, which I've already described. And the decision timeline. Herbicide use was clearly described in the posted agenda item. The decision occurred at public board meetings with opportunity for comment prior to approval. And then just because I think, like I said, what's really most relevant is to understand what the future plans are for tree removal. So I just want to quickly go over that. So future phases of additional tree removal efforts. So the interior growth, right, this whole project that we just described was all related to the hazard as presented along the roadways. That's what George just described. We also have trees that are, presenting hazards, but more interior and not impacting the roadway. In particular, what we have focused on as like a, BPUD led project is the trees that line the path that we'd really like to remove prior to repair of that path, so that we know that people that are, going along the path are safe and not, gonna be presented with hazardous trees along the trail. So BCPUD is pursuing permitting for 40 additional trees under CEQA emergency exemption. This is independent project not being pursued in collaboration with MWPA and BFPD. The trees are located within the interior grove along the bike path. Each tree will require site-specific evaluation, including potential impacts on monarch butterflies, just like the roadside tree project. The status, the permitting is progressing. Funding is not yet secured. This project is not eligible for funding through MWPA. And the work is not guaranteed. It's obviously going to be contingent on us finding, securing that funding. Just one point, I think George already made this point, but PG&E has removed and scheduled removed hazardous trees near electrical infrastructure. These efforts reduce the number of trees addressed through the MWPA project as he outlined. There may be potential for future tree work along the roadside with MWP and BFPD. That is not planned as of yet. And we'll see how that goes, but that's going to be dependent on, they're using their resources. If future phases do proceed, items will be brought back to the board for discussion and action as needed. Treatment methods will be evaluated, including non-chemical and herbicide options. So for instance, for those 40 trees, if and when we get approval to remove those trees and we're ready to contract that project out for removal, then just as happened with the roadside trees, if it is contemplated that herbicide would be applied, then we would go through the one-time exemption for the resolution, just as occurred previously. And we would hope that, people in the community that aren't supportive of that decision would come to that meeting and let their, views be known. So next steps are continue to evaluate the herbicide versus non-chemical methods, including cost and long-term effectiveness, assess maintenance implication, labor costs, and feasibility, use findings to guide future vegetative management decisions, and community feedback indicates strong interest in minimizing herbicide use for future action. The district will continue to clearly communicate proposed materials and methods and agenda descriptions, maintain transparency in when decisions are being considered and made, distinguish project-specific actions from broader policy discussions, reinforce opportunity for public participation at the board meetings. So there's no action requested of the board at this time. This is actually an item that was not on for action. It was on for discussion, but moved up in the interest of the folks that came here to discuss the project. And then finally, I just wanted to, because I think, as George said, I think that the project was highly successful. I personally think it looks beautiful down there. These are some pictures of what the upper portion, it was basically because of the power poles, and there's sort of this intervening middle section where we really couldn't touch any trees because they're too close to the power poles. But there's the upper section where there was a lot of tree removal done. And then there's the lower section near Olima Venus where a lot of tree removal was done. And then the only other thing I just have here is just basically, as many of you know, going out Mesa Road, there was a tree removal project of eucalyptus where you can see what happens if you do not manage that resprouting. And those are just this quadrant here of pictures is just examples of that, where you can see out of the targeted or out of the cut stump, you get all of this resprouting, but you also shock these trees and often get this lateral resprouting, which, turns into, obviously I think nothing was done in this case. And that's kind of worst case scenario of what can happen if you're not actually managing that next resprouting. But that is obviously the reason for applying the herbicide, is to prevent this resprouting.
And where is this, excuse me?
It's just out towards
Like right beyond Purple Gate
Mhm,
on
yeah,
the left?
yeah,
On the right?
on the right hand side as you're going
Okay.
out towards the water tower. And then Caitlin, I don't know if you're still on there. If you want to.
Yeah, hi Georgia.
I
Yeah, I'm available to speak through a little bit more about triclopyr at this time, if that would be helpful.
Perhaps you should introduce yourself and then tell us what your point of view is on what's been discussed so far.
Yeah, my name is Caitlin Gillerin. I am the program manager with Panorama Environmental, and we support Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority in environmental compliance and associated activities. So for this particular project, we supported acquiring the environmental approval from the state, as well as the additional environmental support that George mentioned, including the monarch assessment and also the bird surveys.
Right. And you have a point of view on the subject that's been discussed concerning the planned herbicide use?
I'm a program manager, so I don't have a perspective. I'm here to support compliance for the project.
Okay. I think there's been concerns expressed over the safety of this. Do you have anything you would like to address the audience and the board on concerning the safety of the project?
Yeah, I would love to go through triclopyr and some information about that, as well as some specifics about how it was applied on this project, if that would be helpful for you.
I think it would.
Great.
Spell it, please. Can you spell it?
Sorry, what?
I was hoping you could spell that name for those of us who would like to do further research.
It's TRICLOPYR.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you. Okay. So George provided an overview of the project, which I think is really important to keep in mind that eucalyptus are prone to becoming hazard trees. There have been, mortality and injury of quite a few people. So that is really the purpose of this particular project. And also eucalyptus can pose as jackpots and wildfire risk trees. So we have a lot of information about that available on the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority website. For now, I'm going to focus on this particular project. Herbicides are an important tool when treating eucalyptus. As you can see on this slide, and as Georgia went through, they are prone to vigorous resprouting and spreading, which means that you will end up with the same issue that you have before the treatment, which is additional hazard trees, as well as wildfire risks. Triclopyr, which is the herbicide that was applied as part of this project, is an efficient tool for control of regrowth and regeneration of eucalyptus, which is based on literature and studies that are available, and also documented by groups including the California Native Plant Society and California Invasive Plant Council. And there are some useful links in the memorandum in the agenda for tonight that Georgia can point to as appropriate. Triclopyr and other herbicide applications to treat eucalyptus is a standard practice among many land management agencies in the Bay Area and broader California. Other herbicides are recommended per studies of efficacy in treating eucalyptus, particularly glyphosate, which for this project was determined to have greater risks and to not be an appropriate choice. The Environmental Protection Agency defines product labels for each herbicide that provides critical information about how to safely handle and apply herbicides to avoid harm to human health, including the workers as well as the public, and the environment, wildlife, non-target plants, and water resources. The herbicide for this project was applied in accordance with all regulations, including that label, as well as project-specific requirements, which there were quite a few, by the contractor who has a qualified applicator license and is a licensed pest control business. Additionally, recommendations per pest control advisor were adhered to. As part of the project, herbicide was applied on the cambium layer, like Georgia mentioned, of the cut stump in a targeted manner using a wand with a dauber at the end under appropriate weather conditions, which reduces the potential for drift to any non-target species in the area. Studies have found triclopyr to not be linked to cancer and to have a low toxicity in humans, as well as a relatively low to lack of toxicity for non-target species such as birds and bees when applied in a targeted manner, as it was done for this recently completed project. Additionally, this herbicide is selective for broadleaf plants, which are eucalyptus, which further minimizes that potential for risk to non-target plant species. The memorandum, like I mentioned, that's available in the agenda and linked, does have additional information and citations, which you are welcome to peruse. Ultimately, like Georgia and George noted, application of triclopyr was determined to be the most effective option with low risks to achieve the desired outcome of the project and inhibit eucalyptus growth and minimize the risk of new hazard trees in the future. So thank you. I'll pass it back to Georgia.
Thank you.
And I guess I would just pass it to the board, if you guys have any questions or discussion among yourselves, before opening it up to the public.
All right, I'll go around the table and see if anybody does. Kevin, do you have any?
My only concern was whether it was painted on the tree stumps, but it sounds like it was, as we were told back in March, so I don't have anything further.
All right, Andrew?
My only question is just curiosity, like how much it costs to grind a large stump like this versus this application.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I would say is I hope that if and when we have this discussion again, we would probably do a more in-depth discussion of the alternatives to the herbicide, and just, you know, we can make an informed decision at that point. For the particular trees here, where they were on the road and where you're not, the project proposes not removing all trees, the arborist actually informed us that stump grinding was not a viable option, because effectively there's a couple of reasons. As you guys know, there's that kind of mounted like sort of topography as you're going down Mesa Road. So that would lead to, like, the grinding of stumps would basically lead to erosion of that topography. So that was one reason. Additionally, if you remove, do stump grinding, you can actually destabilize some of the neighbors that ultimately there was no plan to remove because they weren't, you know, hazardous in that state. So that was the primary reason. And as far as the cost, obviously it's a lot more expensive, but that actually didn't factor into the decision making. It was more that for functional reasons, it was suggested that stump grinding was not a good idea.
Okay.
Christian?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say, it looks like this is a very well thought out plan. And with a lot of outreach and anticipation that this community would be concerned about this process. So thank you for having done that effort. I'm just curious how long, I know it was applied as soon as the trees were cut, but how long does it take these trees to sprout if you hadn't put this treatment on?
John?
We can talk to that. We had a giant stump on our property, the biggest tree in that whole stand, and it already has growth on it this tall, and that was in March.
Yeah, so 3 months.
3 months,
Doesn't take long,
right?
But it's also springtime and there's lots of growth.
but I'll be wrestling with that stuff for the rest of my life. Because we would not use the product, though it was offered, there's a little debate there, but whatever. Fun little project for me to climb up.
Forever. Your forever progress.
Like a forever project. But no, really, a lot of times, if you continually eliminate these suckers over time, the stump will give up.
Okay.
Could take a few years, but.
All right, I'll open it up to the audience. Anybody want to address the board or?
And just in terms of that, there is also a letter that is posted too, in terms of, you know, public input, and just wanted to point people, that's linked directly in the agenda. Jess, I'm not sure if you're here, but you could also speak to your letter if you'd like, but just wanted to point that out to folks that, Jess Schaefer's letter is directly linked in the agenda.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you. I'm here. And appreciate all of the context. So thank you.
Did you want to speak to this more than what is in your letter to the board?
I think just following up, understanding that the work that's been done has been done, but in terms of the phases to come, I'm not sure that I really understand the urgency around the additional removal of the interior trees along the pathway. So maybe someone could speak to that. And just in terms of kind of how community outreach was conducted, I did see the next door post after the fact, unfortunately, but I would love to figure out together collaboratively how we can communicate more broadly to the community to make sure that everyone is aware of the considerations involved.
All right, well, I think Georgia made a presentation on the history of how this project was
Right.
discussed and agendized, so going forward, we'll continue to follow the same practices. And I think Georgia also was enlightening on that. Anyone in the room who would like to, David?
Well, I'm sorry that I don't religiously read the hearsay or check next door. But I didn't really realize that this was going on until the signs appeared that wrote about herbicide being applied. I guess I gotta start like living on my iPhone like everybody else. But and I do, following up with what John said, these stumps do give up. There's a Ute stump at the corner of Aspen and Elm with a sign on it with a deer that says, "We live here too." Okay, that Ute stump had sprouted runners or whatever they are all the way up to the power lines, and I pulled them off, and they have not grown back, and it's been like 2 years. And I've also done similar things to stumps on the terrace, and they have yet to grow back. So I think it takes a little effort, but I think they do give up. But anyway, that's not really the main message I have to say. I think we have a problem. The wetland, which WRA designated as helping to qualify that grove as an ESHA site, is now gone. It's been destroyed by application of several inches of eucalyptus chips and the herbicide. This wetland feeds into Bolinas Lagoon, which is an internationally recognized wetland. If you're not familiar with the Ramsar Convention. So I didn't really hear the word permit, so I would like to see what the permits you got to do this project. And the Bolinas Eucalyptus project funded tens of thousands of dollars to WRA to do the environmental assessment, and they proposed that it is an ESHA site. On the basis of that wetland and on the stream that the ephemeral stream that flows down that slope. An ESHA site requires a 4-to-1 mitigation. If you're going to destroy a wetland, you have to create 4 times that wetland somewhere else. But the eucalyptus chips are toxic, just like the herbicide. And so now that wetland is gone. And it feeds into this internationally recognized Ramsar site, the Bolinas Lagoon. So I don't know. I think you have a problem. I know Trump weakened the environment, the Water Quality Act. You weakened EPA. So I don't know, but I think that environmental organization could sue you. Could sue BPUD for doing this, or maybe, I don't know, if BPUD is responsible. But BPUD is party to it, I guess, allowed this to go forward. And I know that we're used to Bolinas Lagoon being there. We drive by it every day, it's always there. But it is a special spot in the world. There's only 41 Ramsar sites in the United States. There's only 6 in California, Bolinas Lagoon being one of them. And I think it needs to be treated with kids' gloves. And so I don't, whatever environmental assessment, why not? I didn't hear anything about wetland. So anyway, I do think however you treat the rest of the grove, I know you all have saw the WRR report clothing at the beginning, that's just something. So anyway, apparently it didn't sink in. I don't know what to say. It's possible that the wetland could be restored. You'd have to rake all those eucalyptus chips away, I guess. It is more than an ephemeral wetland, which you all know because you drilled a well in part of it. But anyway, I'm just saying, I'm really sad that, you guys can't know everything. But I don't know, I'm just sad that you didn't consider like effective herbicide on people. But anyway, the wetland is destroyed. Some, like maybe EAC can do something useful and sue you, but I don't know. And I do know that the 4-to-1 mitigation ratio is applied elsewhere in the state. So I don't know if it's exempt under the wildfire thing, it's exempted. I don't know, but maybe you folks do, but
Well, let me direct your questions. There's basically 2 of them that I heard, and one of them had to do with the permitting and what kind of permits, if any, were sought. And the second one is whether there was a consideration of the environmental consequences of it being done this way. So perhaps we can go to George, and then also our guest from Panorama Environmental to address that as well.
Is Caitlin still on?
Yeah, hi George, if that was you.
Caitlin, I know the Isha maps were definitely looked at, and I doubt you have it in front of you, but are you able to speak to the Isha maps in the waterways in the project?
Yeah, I would need to see a map of which particular feature this member of the public is talking about, but there are wetland features nearby to where the tree removal was occurring. We did a pre-treatment survey, and any sensitive areas would have been flagged off if they were directly in the area that a treatment was occurring. So we would need to investigate further to find out what's being discussed right now.
And I believe from the map and from where I think David is referring to is on the very lowest part of the section. And I believe from my memory that map, we worked with that map that did identify that Isha, but we worked within the setbacks that was in that map.
Yeah, I mean, that stream is defined as an ephemeral stream, so I'm at least on WRA's their biological site assessment maps. The other ephemeral streams go through resource recovery. We just were thinking that the well was leaking because there's so much water over there currently. So I would dispel the notion that there is no, there's no wetland feature there, and that this project removed it, because there's tons of ephemeral water right now at Resource Recovery. That's all from that same watershed coming down that hill. As far as the project boundary, my understanding is that there was limit on the tree removal based on the proximity of that ephemeral stream. In terms of the application of the chips, I can't speak to that, and where the boundaries of those chips occurred, and the extent to which the chips present, a kind of poison that can impact water. I can't speak to that, but I know that in the process that I'm going through with a very similar mirrored process of trying to get permission to remove other trees, like I said, that are aligned along the pedestrian path. We part of that assessment, even though there is effectively this other like, you don't have to receive coastal development permits through the executive order, which is ultimately why we're taking advantage of this to do this tree removal in this more efficient, streamlined manner. However, that is not to imply that there is not environmental oversight. There's extensive environmental oversight. I've been dealing with it for the last 3 months, including having to look at ephemeral water features. So I'm guessing that what MWPA and Panorama had to go through was very similar. So there's not, I can't really speak exactly to the specific things that you're bringing forward, Dave, but I can just speak to, there's still a lot of water down there. There is a rigorous permitting oversight that is having, that you have to go through to get permission to remove the trees. That includes, what is your plan for, chip application, all of that. It's to look at, the entirety of the project, not just, what trees are you going to remove and what impact is that going to have on butterflies, but there's all of these extensive, rigorous, oversight that you have to go through.
Yeah, well, I have to politely disagree. I'd like to see the permit that we received to trash that wetland. As you said, it's always wet. It's not the stream is seasonal, but that wetland is always wet. It's just wetter in the wintertime. And it was first covered with toxic eucalyptus chips a year ago, thus covering the vegetation that was there. And now recently there's another layer, even thicker layer of chips covering this. Eucalyptus is toxic to other plants. You do know that, right? So anyway, it's just too bad. It's part of Bolinas Lagoon. As I said, Bolinas Lagoon needs to be treated with kids' gloves. It was the Bolinas Lagoon Technical Advisory Committee consulted, was first all hands on deck ecology consulted, used to be HCR, was Point Reyes Bird Observatory consulted. It's been doing shorebird censuses for the last 50 years on Bolinas Lagoon. No, I'm just saying, too bad that too bad the lagoon is so familiar that it wasn't even in people's minds.
Right, well, I would say, Dave, if there are permits that you can examine, I'm sure we'd be glad to provide them to you. I don't know to the extent that you have them, or they're in your office, or they were issued by an agency to somebody else, so I would think that somebody can respond to your request. Do you know if there are permits?
I think Caitlin would probably be
Yeah,
the best to
and-
respond to that.
And this is Ann Krelock. I'll speak to it a little bit as well. I'm Ann Krelock with the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority. We went through a process through the states, the governor's emergency proclamation for wildfires. Basically, it shrinks the timeline for getting environmental compliance in place. It doesn't really take away things from like biological resource ESHA maps and things. You still have to do a lot to get the environmental compliance in place, but it gives you a shorter timeline to do it so that you're able to get work done more quickly in order to address wildfire risk. So we went through that process and created an 80-page long ESHA memo with maps showing all of the environmentally sensitive habitat areas for this kind of work in coastal Marin. So we've got all of that in place. I'll note in terms of the discussion around wetlands and eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is really interesting. It exhibits something called allelopathy, which means that it inhibits the growth of other vegetation around it. In areas where we were really curious about this issue as well. And in an area in San Rafael, San Anselmo, we did some eucalyptus thinning, and we're very curious to see how quickly the soil responds to this and recovers and allows other species to grow. And we've seen in this area where we've been removing eucalyptus trees, just thinning, not clear cutting, but thinning, we're seeing native plants popping up in the understory. So that's pretty exciting. And we saw that happen pretty quickly. In another area, so I'm not sure how familiar you are with eucalyptus and water. Eucalyptus are notoriously thirsty trees, and they tend to dry up wetlands. And so in an area in Nevada where we've removed some eucalyptus trees, we're actually now doing a wetland restoration project in collaboration with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, because now that creek, that ephemeral stream in that wetland area is coming back. And so now we're planting native plants and seeing a restoration type activity there. So that's actually really exciting from our perspective. I have a background in environmental resources, natural resources management, restoration, and a number of things. So that's actually kind of near and dear to many of our hearts. So I wanted to throw that out there and just let you know that we did go through all the environmental compliance for this kind of work and are happy to share that. And Caitlin, you're welcome to jump in here and add anything else.
Yeah, we have someone here with their hand up. Go ahead.
How did that wetland restoration deal with the grow back of the eucalyptus?
That was also cut stump herbicide application to reduce the regrowth of the eucalyptus. And then now we're going, crews are going in and hand pulling weeds and planting native plants and trying to increase the kind of proportion of native versus non-native on the ground.
Yeah, I don't know why they spray in wetlands. They did that. They've always done that with Roundup too. It's like there's ditches and there's Roundup.
Yeah, there was no spraying in the wetlands. There was just dabbing and applying to the cut stumps themselves.
All right, Jenny.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to come across as a person who is so critical of the board or the staff, because I know you're all hardworking people and I admire the work you do, and I know you're all environmentally conscious. Following up with what David started by saying, I am, when it comes to meetings, a person who is tied to my technical devices, because I do pay attention, because I do go to meetings. And I know that Nextdoor is really hard to get good information from. They have some sort of a schedule of letting information go around on there that I have a code I have not cracked. So finding information is hit or miss. I am tied totally to the hearsay. And I also have to say, when there are signs that go up that have to do with something that is going to impact the health and welfare of our community members and species that we share this land with, I think there are some options that could have been used. For one thing, there used to be the post for the big sign that said when we needed to have what our water was when we were having water problems. Something of this importance could be on a big sign. I know it's kind of a joke when they put up those small signs that say in big letters, road work will be happening, and then in some black, somebody scrawl real small when you're driving by, there's something that says the dates and the times and the what it is. So it's gotta be better than that. I also know that there have been grants for Conservation Corps, Youth Conservation Corps and Mount Valley Conservation Corps to come and do follow-up work. So I would suggest that that's something that could be done. I have myself also gone out to stumps and taken a saw and in parkland over there where they have cut eucalyptus, and I've gone out and picked one or two to do. I can't do them all, but I have had good success with that. So I would suggest maybe it's possible to adopt a stump. Have somebody choose a stump that's your stump to take care of so that you make sure it doesn't come back. And I think we have enough people in our town who would sign on to do that. So there is that. And I know that there's a well down there, so if there's any sort of percolation downstream, downhill, that's water that goes to water the Mesa Park and other things. Also, when
Into Colinas Lagoon
yes,
in the apple.
yes, exactly. So I also did go to the meeting that it was the state of the lagoon, and there were a lot of tables around, a lot of people, and I went there asking questions about herbicides because at the soccer field there is a creep of a ground cover, flower ground, that's getting bigger and bigger, and there was a suggestion that that be sprayed. And I said, well, let me go to this meeting and check in with all these people who are there, these environmentalists. Nobody was willing to say spray an herbicide on that creep on the soccer field. There's a red-legged frog there. Of course, there are all kind of, there herons, egrets, all kind of birds, even to the Canadian geese, whatever. Anyway, I was told that there is no really good, safe way you can use toxic materials. Some are not so toxic as others, but if it's going to kill the tree, it's going to not be good. So I would suggest that you, instead of doing the poisons, use some of these other solutions that I have suggested. And I'm very disappointed that I'm not a person who is oblivious to what's going on in meetings. Sometimes there will be 2 meetings in a night and I have to choose. But I do kind of go down and see what the agenda is. And I don't remember seeing something in bold on an agenda that said we'll be talking about toxic materials. I don't remember that now. I could have overlooked it. But I would think that would be something in really bold, or letters that would go out, or something that would say, alert, we will be using toxins. If you have a problem with that, please, this is when we're going to do it. So I know you tried really hard. It sounds like it did not work. And I'm trying to tell you why it didn't. Because even those of us who are very conscientious about meat, and I know I have a ridiculous reputation in town for going to meetings. And it's because of this. Because when I don't go, and I didn't go to that one, because it was another meeting, that's what happens. So that's why I go. And that's why I'm so obnoxious. Because it means something. So anyway, thanks for all the things you do and for the trying. But that is something that has to be really big. So get that sign back up if it's something that's toxic material or something that's going to affect this person.
Thank you, Jenny. Anybody else in the audience that wants to address John?
Yeah, first, George, was this to be year 1 of a 5-year plan, or is that not happening anymore as far as the tree removals go?
And as far as I know, John, this was potentially a phase of more, but at this time, we don't have a second phase
We know,
in the works.
because that was
This, yeah, this,
discussed earlier, wasn't it? That this should be 200 out of $1 million spent towards from MWPA for the trees along Mesa and Olema Bolinas. I mean, we
I
kind
think,
of talked about that, didn't we?
I think the possibility of there being more funds available for additional phases is a possibility. We worked with the reports that were prepared and with the parameters that we had from a wildfire standpoint, from an evacuation road standpoint. So we had to scope it to the trees that could potentially impact the road,
Okay.
not to the interior road, to the interior trees.
But as far as the roadside, I've been really happy, and I've been telling people these guys did great. This is first of a 5 phase. They're going to get all these big trees, then we'll deal with the rest when the time comes. But if this is it, then I'm no longer very pleased, because you'll see it this winter. Trust me, there will be plenty of road closures. Because of what's been done now, there's more likelihood that we're going to see more of the same. But that was something I can tolerate that risk for 5 years if we're working towards a reasonable end state. So we'll see. I'm just a little disappointed. As far as the Garland for being targetly, applied directly to the stump with a wand, not sprayed. This is being conflated with Roundup over huge areas, and like they do in logging and in the parks apparently. And there's a lot of really overuse of herbicides out there, but I don't think this is it. And yeah, it sounds great that we're all going to adopt the stump, and we're going to have volunteers, and we're going to put together this little army. But we sit here and we say this, and our average age is probably close to 70 something. If there were a bunch of 30-year-olds with this vigor for this stump warrior thing, I'd be all for it. But realistically, folks, we've been pounding the table for years to get these trees cut down. Now it's happening. And now we're freaking out because of the way they're managing the stumps.
Yeah.
It's okay,
not
I get that. But I think we have Ann here on Zoom, who's highly qualified, very experienced, obviously loves nature and the outdoors and wetlands. And she's talking about restoration projects they've done in wetlands after using this product with obviously no harm done. And I'll let her, if she would, speak to that, because I think we have to just take a breath. And it's easy to, just because they say it's safe, it's not. It's easy to have that mentality, but you're talking about a couple ounces per stump, and it's going directly into the root system. That's why they do it directly within an hour of it being cut or so. And then it's in that system, it does what it does, and then it chemically changes and becomes, it's not toxic for friggin' ever. Anyway, I just think we've wanted this work to happen for so long. And yeah, this may not be the way the eucalyptus project would have done it, but we would have had funding theoretically to address this long term. But I just don't see that happening. And this is what gets it done. And I think we should embrace that.
All right, thank you, John. Is there anybody else in the audience that wants to?
I would just say that the problem is so much worse now because PG&E cut down trees in the 60s and didn't address the regrowth. And so we have all these trees with spars that are weaker. So it's really important.
To deal with the stumps, you mean?
Yeah, to deal with the resprouting one way or the other.
Okay. Do you have a thought one way or the other on what their approach is?
Well, I'm not really qualified to talk about that.
All right,
Yeah.
I know you're active in
But
that.
I do know that people could be enthusiastic about going out every year and cutting the regrowth, but it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, what Jenny said about, hiring somebody like Marin Conservation Corps or California Conservation Corps, where they have those young people who come in the van and they do work, and I'm wondering if that is an option.
Well, I'm gonna bring it back to Georgia because I want to wrap this item up and continue with our agenda.
No, I mean, I think that my perspective on this is that it's a conversation to be continued. I, like John, hope that there are further phases of removal. There's obviously 40 trees that I just talked about that we're hoping to remove through this same rigorous but expedited process that makes the permitting much less expensive, which means that ultimately we're hoping to have more money to actually remove trees, and that ultimately, if the community thinks that, they want to put resources towards alternative, more expensive, but, uh, other means that they champion, I'm totally in favor of that. I think that's fine. I think to Janice's point and everybody else's point, we can't just cut them and not do anything. Because we cannot make the situation worse for future generations to just deal with something that we didn't ultimately deal with in a responsible manner. But as far as these alternatives and what is the most appropriate approach, I think it's, a conversation to be continued.
All right, so then the next time we're ready to have that conversation, we'll make it a bold item on our agenda.
Thank you.
And that everyone will have an opportunity to
But-
address the board on it.
But I do want to speak to that. I mean, I don't want to be overly sensitive, but it's something that I've dealt with both as a board member on the school and now as a BPUD member, and understanding that we can make agendas, we can make, and I read the item directly because I wanted to, for people to understand what was agendized. It was not like, hey, we're doing some tree work, come to the meeting. It was Garland for consideration of application, exception to our, resolution 538, like it was really spelled out. And yes, I agree that, you can go and do further levels of outreach, but I would encourage the public, it takes 5 minutes to track down whether it's on Nextdoor or come, email, and we'll send you a copy of the, it's posted on our website. The agenda is there. It takes 5 minutes to look through the agenda, see if there's anything of interest. We try to be really transparent around the agenda language so people can know what's on there. And of course, Jenny, it's few and far between that you're missing a meeting. And I think it was just, unfortunate that that particular meeting you weren't able to attend. But I would just, having been on 2 public agencies and getting this backlash from the public around, hey, you didn't spoon feed me this particular agenda item that I'm really interested in. That's really difficult for us having so much on our plate to take that, because at then it becomes discretionary. Oh, is this of interest to the public? Or maybe this is of interest to the public, and this is the thing that should go on our sign. I would just really encourage, hopefully the silver lining around this is that people understand a little bit more about our public agendizing, and that we, have an agenda. It literally takes 5 minutes to look through that. You can either come to the meeting in real time, which obviously means that you'll be able to impact decisions that are being made. And if it's, a situation where you can't come to the meeting, at least you're able to inform yourself after the fact. So, I appreciate that, yes, there should be effort around us making sure that the agenda is easily accessible. But I think that it becomes very difficult to predict what is the most impactful and basically filter our agenda for the things that people are potentially interested in. I'd say that that's not really appropriate. We agendize the whole meeting and we make the agenda, disseminate the agenda itself.
Georgia, this is Jess Schaefer online, if I may jump in just for a moment and just offer support in communications. I think this is really the crux of the matter, is that I know a lot of us here feel like I know that you guys made a lot of effort to put out the message. So let's collaborate on figuring out what a more impactful way of approaching the communication efforts could be. And I'm really happy to be involved with that and, bulletin boards and just figure out how we can tell the story of what has happened, why it happened, and what is going to happen next in a way that, is really accessible to the community so that people can make informed decisions collectively. And I know that you've done a lot of work to do that, and I just want to offer additional support in making that happen because I think it's really important to also to understand like, yeah, what does happen next? What are the restoration plans? What is the next phase? Is it funded? When is it happening? And all of that. So just wanted to offer that up because that's a really, really important component of this, of course. And thank you all for your.
Yeah, thank you.
We still record and post our meetings online, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Kevin and I often go back and watch our own meetings that we're sitting in to look at our notes. So that's all posted publicly. Our meetings are every third Wednesday of the month. All of the materials that we're discussing today are on the website for the public. So when you're recounting the meeting, or if you're writing a news article, or you're just educating yourself, what we're seeing is all there for you as well. I feel like the doors here are very open, and Georgia is very generous with her time. If anyone has questions, so is George. So I kind of just want to like reinforce the spoon feeding. It's like it's on Nextdoor, it's in the hearsay, it's like on the website, the schedule of the meetings. And sometimes we have meetings where no one's concerned. And so I'm wondering, like, is everyone not paying attention all the time or just selectively? So I just would really urge you to like get in a schedule, like put a reminder on your phone if that's easier than looking at the hearsay. Maybe you're traveling when the hearsay comes out or something. Just be like, oh, it's the third Wednesday of the month. There's a meeting coming up. I can go to the website, public website, and I can check it out.
Yeah, it's posted every Friday before the meeting on our website is, and then the materials are always available later, but the agendized item is always there on the Friday for you to, skim through. I mean, I would suggest that there's several meetings where you will find no reason to attend. But there, if you just get in the habit of looking at it, then you can either, after the fact, go back to that meeting and see the, hone in right on the 10 minutes you're interested in. Or if you're really interested in impacting a decision, then obviously you'll need to attend the meeting either remotely or in person.
Be aware there are a lot of meetings in this tiny town, so not everybody's gonna be able to hold what you're doing in there, along with all these other meetings. So just be aware of that. And I was on trying to find out the time of tonight's meeting on your website, and I got all kind of meetings, but not this meeting with the time on it. So I did spend a pretty good amount of time. I ended up going back to the hearsay, and I got it in the hearsay. But I want you to know there are a lot of meetings and a lot of agendas. And sometimes they switch when they're gonna be there. And it's hard to track that down. It doesn't work on Nextdoor easily at all. So just want you to know that.
Isn't our agenda posted on our site? It says right
Yeah,
there
what's
in bold black.
It does, but
Yeah.
did you know I tried to actually get there tonight? I really tried hard and I found links to all kind of special meetings. But the time for tonight's meeting was not there, sorry.
Well,
Anyway,
on the agenda. All right, I think we need to wrap this up because we've got a long agenda and this is only number 2. So
Thank you.
thank you all, and there you go.
Moving this up, definitely.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Anne and Caitlin. I'm not
Thank
sure
you, everyone. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Yeah, you folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like your stump warrior idea. I think that's the message.
Adopt a stump.
Warrior.
Take care, y'all.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. All right, with that, I'm going to go on to the next item, which is item 15. Report from the Bolinas Downtown Working Group.
And
Please,
just
fantastic.
'cause Melinda's here, you had a letter of protest and missed the beginning of the meeting. I just wanted to let you know we were gonna read your letter when we talked about the budget.
Yeah,
Which item is that?
The budget
It's
is.
the end of the.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
10 o'clock tonight.
You can go back.
No, I mean, I
Got it?
walked over.
Yeah.
Was able to find the agenda on the website and I saw it was first, I'm sorry, I ran over here.
Yeah, sorry. It's just basically because we have the public hearing and that's basically where we accept the protest. But then it's all related to the actual passage of the budget, which is item 7. And
That's, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, item 7.
It's coming.
Just text it.
What?
Text me when it's.
Coming up. Well,
Like, it's like at least a half hour, right?
yeah, probably I would guess.
all right.
Although some of this stuff should.
I can stay for the show. All right, let's just keep going.
What's the spoon thing too?
I would text you. You leave, I'll text you.
Yeah,
To let you know, enough time to walk over here. Is Sherry?
Sherry, are you here?
Yeah, I am. I have,
Yeah, you can
Oh,
take
yeah,
this
so
off
that
the
we can
screen.
see the people?
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
I mean.
yeah, hi.
yeah.
Um,
Before we go to the next item, I'm just gonna throw something in as someone who's been on this board for going on to 35 years. And it's every once in a while, something goes on in our town and people don't really are aware of it, even though we've tried everything to broadcast what's about to happen. Until the time that somebody puts a shovel in the ground or cuts a tree or takes physical action. And people show up and go, why didn't I know anything about this? Why didn't you people tell us this was gonna happen? And it's not unique that tonight happened. It happens periodically because until there is the implementation of a project, people aren't necessarily have their pulse, taking their pulse on what's going on. So I just wanted to point out that
Yeah.
there's nothing unique about this experience where people go, why didn't I know this was gonna happen? It just happens.
Yeah, no, and it's not unique to this agency. Like I was saying, this is something that at the school was a recurring issue. And I do agree with Jess, like it's, you make efforts around the communication piece, but it does mean it takes time and effort around those communication piece. And I sit through our meeting, we have a lot on our plate.
Yeah.
And in as much as that communication piece is really important, it's hard for us to just develop that next iteration of outreach,
Yeah.
It's just, that's why I am pleading with the public to please just go look at our agenda on a Friday.
The only thing I would like to say quickly about that is I don't do Nextdoor very often, but I did see this communication. And I was surprised at like the tone of judgment that BPUD would do something like this. I feel like that's a message that could go out to our community, is not to be so quick to judge, but come forth and ask questions. I thought the dialogue amongst the different people in the audiences, while differing, was also very supportive. I thought for the most part. I don't like being it being suggested that the EAC should come and sue the BPUD board. I thought that was really painful.
Yeah, it's not very community oriented, and
Yeah.
we're a water board.
Yeah.
And
So-
we deal with water and sewer.
So maybe that can be part of the marketing message, is like, let's not be so quick to judge and go do your homework before you start posting nasty notes online about BPUD and others.
And there we go.
Okay,
With that,
Sherry, are you ready to talk about something positive?
yes.
Okay.
Sherry, do you?
I'll quickly do, sorry.
Please.
Wanna
No.
Yeah.
topic is, I'll just it's on our agenda item, I'll just quickly talk about it, because I don't have much of a voice, and then Sherry's gonna briefly describe a bit more, but this is an informal group that has been meeting for the last few years, and now it has evolved into what we're calling the Bolinas Downtown Aid Working Group, BDOG, because these community members are quite determined, so we thought it was a good acronym for us. It's a community-based working group of Bolinas residents focused on parking, traffic, pedestrian safety, refuse impacts, and visitor-related pressures as they relate to the quality of life and safety of neighborhood residents and the broader community in downtown Bolinas. So that's mission statement. Do you want to take a little bit further Sherry?
Yeah, yes, thank you. Yeah, the group was formal, this group came out of the former parking committee groups, including the permit parking. And that was the origin, but it's moved into a broader role. And that's how we came up with, one of the reasons we came up with a name and some protocols. And I think you have the documentation of a summary of our meeting on June 9th. We met two other times before. There'll be in a meeting in September 9th, but we are individually and collectively working on some of these projects. And there were two, I guess, quasi-action items in the items that we talked about. One is related to the composition of the meeting, and I think this was talked about. My memory isn't totally there on it, but at the end of the permit group, they said we want to bring things to the board, and there was some talk of institutionalizing the effort. And so we discussed this at the meeting, and we come to want to ask, and the decision doesn't necessarily have to be made right now, but for the board to formally include a quarterly community downtown update agenda item. And it doesn't necessarily have to be coming from this particular group of people, but that the desire is to maintain a watchful eye on what's going on in the downtown area of Bolinas. And this is the reason for that. And then now, if this were to be acted upon, to designate Director Walker as our point of contact, because it's helpful to have a board member as a point of contact, because the BPUD has so many things it's doing, but it has always operated as an advisory role, for example, to the county on various items. So that was one, shall we say, action item that I don't even know if maybe you've already actually taken that action, and in the past when we first discussed it. And then, when we met, so that's one thing. And then just to go quickly through the other things, we did talk briefly about information for visitors, which is different than what was talked about the last meeting with beach information and QR code. And it's not that it can collaborate with that effort, but we're looking at a kind of a broader effort. And we didn't talk very much about it, so I'm not going to talk very much about it, but it is on the list. And we did talk a little bit about what happened at the last meeting we had in April with the sheriff's department, and people are working with the sheriff's office. In fact, I got a note from somebody in our group that they had talked to the deputy that works with the unhoused community. And so we are working on this. It's still going on. And then the signage that we have on our permit program is still not complete. And it's unbelievable it's taking this long, but there is a little light at the end of the tunnel. There might be something happening this soon, but it's a year and we still don't have all the signs up for the permit program. Supervisor Rodoni did make another inquiry about it, not last month, so we did have a little action, but and then the other action item that we're talking about is the trash collection. It's not clear. There's been talk in the BPUD meetings about talking to Recology and something happening at Brighton, and how Wharf Road doesn't really want trash and things like that. It would just be helpful to know what options have been looked at, what the plan is for going forward, and if there's time for a brief discussion about that, that would be helpful.
All right,
Great.
you have a thought on that?
No, I mean, I think I volunteered to meet with the committee quarterly and report back. And I think if this worked for this evening by letting you know last week.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, personally, I don't think that the board needs to take action. You guys can just come forward when you're ready. That way, if, and just plan on having those reports come in quarterly and we can just agendize them.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be formal action. I think the less formal action the board takes, the less likely you guys are to run afoul of the Brown Act.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's because I think as soon as the board takes formal action to pre-agendize meetings and stuff, that's where you start getting into, wait, is this a informal committee or is this a committee that the board formed, in which case it's going to be yeah.
Well, no, it's an informal committee, and I imagine, if people are interested in what really is developed into the quality of life and safety for our downtown neighborhood or our neighborhoods, feel free to reach out and meet with us quarterly.
Yeah, I think the one item there that has come up over the years is this whole problem of trash collection at the two entrances to the beach.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we've reported on this before.
Yeah.
I think part of the hang up at Brighton is the 100 Brighton project and just kind of letting that, basically the trash pickup there has really been folded into that broader improvement project. And so that is complicating things there. On Wharf, I think we have a plan. We need to figure out where those trash bins are going to be. I just had a meeting with Chris Chu and another member of the county to figure out, the extent. I mean, this is broadly related to beach maintenance, but I think in particular around garbage pickup, to just get more involvement of the county. It is a county beach, and I think pretty much everyone's in agreement that the county needs to get more involved in both, the decision making around that. We're going to need approval from Department of Public Works for where those trash cans go. We are working, I mean, believe it or not, it's a ridiculously complicated issue because it involves the fire district because of the tight turnaround, and we've done multiple even like site visits with the fire district around it. It involves the Rod and Boat Club because they are the owners of that land when you get off of Wharf Road, which has been considered for sites for garbage. It involves the Bolinas Community Center because they have been effectively the de facto stewards of garbage collection. It involves the Lions Club potentially because they have committed money previously or have suggested that they might want to, add some money. It involves us. It involves Recology because Recology, as you guys remember, we negotiated in our new franchise agreement with them that they need to collect this garbage. It's like build it and they will come, though. We need to figure out where those things are going. So unfortunately, Brighton is complicated by the, improvement project, and Wharf is complicated by this multi-agency, crazy headed monster. So, anyways, that's, we're continuing to work on it. I just got a message from George Krakauer today about he didn't like all of the garbage down there and we need to really push on it. So I think everybody's in agreement that we need to do something. And that's kind of where we're at. So sorry, that's not more like concrete. But
I wonder if it could be somewhere else rather than right there at the beach end. I mean, because I heard people the other day by the Rod and Boat Club, family with kids saying, oh yeah, here, we'll take our garbage to the end. There's garbage cans at the end of the beach.
Yeah.
That might be something worth not figuring out right now, but worth considering is where, here's your garbage dump now because it's the last garbage dump till you get to the beach.
May I say something because Kirsten, you have a thought about it. I have a thought about it. 3 other people on Wharf Road have a thought about it. We would like to be able to have the input into the decision because we don't want after the fact saying, why did you do this? I know you'll talk about it at the BCPUD meeting, but just to save a certain back and forth, it would be helpful if we can include maybe a little meetings or work or something so that we can give our information as to what we've seen work, what we, what Kirsten said just now. I mean, maybe doesn't have to be there. So if we can get, involved in it a little bit, the
Yeah,
resident.
I think your working group could address it and
Yeah.
bring back a proposal.
Yeah, I mean, maybe what we can do is basically use one of your working groups to align all of those folks. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of it.
Well, the next working group officially is September, so
Perfect.
this would be not within, that parameter. It would have to be, in my mind, you're working doesn't mean you're only working every 3 months, it can go to a meeting beforehand, members of that group.
She's suggesting is it could be like a workshop or something around bringing the agencies together.
Yeah.
I'm happy to help lead that effort.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Does that wrap up this agenda item?
yeah, I think it does.
I have one quick question about your group. Do you have anybody from any of the businesses downtown in your group?
Layla Monroe did attend.
Okay. I saw a list of who was in the meeting and I didn't see anybody I recognized. Okay, but she is in the group and
she has offered, on an as needed basis. So we always let her know when we're meeting and what the topics are, and she gets them.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Just wanted to know, I know Ariane Dar's been to all of these meetings to talk about this thing that will coordinate all the agencies. Has she talked with you? And is this what she was talking about? I'm just wondering if this is.
I mean, she was talking more broadly about the need to coordinate through bond measures, et cetera, and
So, but this may be to the point that if there was maybe a specific time when there could be an interagency meeting, I don't know, maybe that's one of the things she talked about. Is that an idea that would be potential?
Present it to their working group and see how they feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, well, right now, isn't it Janine who's been doing that? And I don't know how many. I mean, we're saying agencies, how many?
Well, I think we're conflating two different things.
Yeah.
When
Okay, that's why
when Ariane came and talked to us, she was talking about not like small projects like garbage collection. I think she's talking about public services and basically understanding the bond measures that the school is going after and the capital improvement projects we have planned and Mesa Park to basically make sure that we're not all going out to the public at the same time and effectively undermining one another.
Yeah, okay.
And may I say that in regards to Janine's project, Bruce and I have offered to participate with the community center on what they're working on. So it's not necessarily this working group doing it, but people who are working, going to a group. And so that's all I'm going to say.
Right.
Forward to September.
There you go. We're gonna move on to the
Thanks,
next
Jerry.
item. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2 on the agenda is the draft 2025 Consumer Confidence Report, which is annual report on water quality.
Yep, this is, I'm sure you guys are used to looking at this. We did a little revamping and trying to streamline it from previous years. And part of that was because we were given a little bit more flexibility because we only used Arroyo Hondo water during the 2025 year. So the reporting around the reservoir, while we, conducted all of that testing and sampling, it didn't have to go directly into this consumer confidence report because that's not the actual water that people were consuming. But all of that information, if you guys want to see those kind of extraneous details, please request that information from us. Any questions you guys had around it?
Yeah, it seems like it is, but is the PFAS testing like a standard now?
It is just starting to be a standard. It's not clear how that's all gonna go, but basically that was kind of interesting in that we needed to do testing on PFASs this 2026 year. And so we did, and it's quarterly. And so we did our first round. I reached out to our regulators as you guys probably remember, the EPA reached out to us and we were effectively one of their guinea pig, districts that they used to test, and we didn't have any PFAS contaminants, which was great. That was through the 23-24 window, kind of right in there. And so because we'd already done this testing, I reached out to the regulator to say, hey, would that testing that was done comply with the yeah, I don't know what that's about. So anyway, they said at first it wouldn't comply. We did that first quarter of testing, it came back negative, and then the regulator reached back out to us and said, actually, that testing you did with the EPA will at least serve this first year. So that's great because the source water doesn't have any PFAS in it. And also we don't have the expense of having to go through those quarterly tests. Again, that's not this report because that was 2026. So you'll see that on the next year's report. You see some of that vestige of what the EPA did.
The 2023 stuff.
Yeah, just because we figured, okay, we might as well report on it because people care about PFAS. It's all over the news and, it had already been tested. Just one other point around this, you'll see that even though it's the 2025 report, we are allowed to use older data depending on the constituent. So you'll see some data from 2023, and basically at the point that data becomes too old to report, we will, obviously retest. One thing just to point out, we are trying to move away from this very dry report that people seem to probably not read. And what we would like to do is with Rob Gailey's help, go over, some of this is basically, if you look at some of these constituents, they don't statutorily have to be tested except for every 9 years, which seems really long, and whether we want to test things more frequently than that. I mean, obviously we have a constrained budget. So I think we would really want some well-informed rationale for doing those more repeatedly. And then what we'd like to come up with is like a nice, easy to digest report where, something like this, that's like all of the comprehensive data is linked. It's on our website. You can go to it and see everything. But as far as the thing that's getting mailed out to people, it's much more digestible and they're like looking at something that's interesting. And that's something that we're kind of looking to revamp with Rob's help this next year.
Maybe Jess would help.
Yes.
She seemed to offer to help on some of our messaging.
Yeah, and some of the visuals.
Yeah.
The enticing visuals.
A one-page summary, I think, would really be good, even if it has backup material, something you could.
Yeah, because you have some statutory obligations that require some of the prior language. So I think there's some of it is like there's no getting around it, but just better understanding that legal framework. Because if ultimately we just direct people on the website to that more dry language and what they're actually receiving in the mail is more informative.
Yeah.
Then I think ultimately this is a more useful document.
All right, thank you. Okay, item 3, there's nothing. Item 4 is a application for leak relief for 272 Alder. And it says John Bryant Cast for Armida Newstat. So
Can I just ask one thing? I'm sorry, that's an action requested.
Oh yeah, you guys are just approving, sorry, the mailing out of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry, you certainly take a form.
is that a motion then?
Yeah, please. Yeah, I think you guys normally approve the mailing of.
Okay, can I get a motion then to approve the draft 2025 Consumer Confidence Report?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there a second?
Sorry, Tom.
Second it.
Second?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks for catching that.
All right, good call. Okay, and that brings us then to item 4, which is the request for leak relief for 274 Alder. John, you're here on that?
Yeah, thank you. You got, the staff was so quick on identifying the problem, and so we got on it right away and solved it over the weekend. Right, it's Monday.
Right. So it looks like this is an undetectable under the ground, didn't surface.
No, the gardeners couldn't find it, and so then I went and looked, and I just looked around, and there was one, hose spigot that was wetter than the others, and I was like, I think this is what it is, and then plumber found it, or that was what it was.
And John, you're here in what capacity?
Her attorney?
Okay.
Was it just like a
It
broken
was a-
pipe?
It was a cracked, yeah, I got that. You guys asked for something about what the plumber said or something. So let me see this bill. I hadn't gotten the bill yet. That's how quick you guys got this taken care of. So he wrote, find valve for irrigation in the yard. Dig up leaking 3/4 inch PVC line. Cut and cap section to eliminate leaking section. And I know exactly which one it is. It's just a pipe coming out of the ground with a spigot and a hose.
Right. So our test of what kind of relief we want to grant is often based on how obvious or not obvious the leak is. So if someone had been paying attention, they would have seen it, or there is no way to pay attention because you wouldn't see it anyway.
Yeah.
So what I got from what's in the file is that this was on a slope, so that the water wasn't pooling, it was just going down the slope. Is that right?
Right, like I said, the gardeners were asked to go look to find it, and they couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even obvious when they knew there was a leak.
Yeah. All right, let me see how the board feels about granting some kind of leak relief on this one. Start with you, Kevin. What's your thought?
Okay.
You're gonna become our authority on this, I hope you realize.
All right. Okay. Yeah, well, I looked back on previous leak relief decisions. It seems like for blind leaks, historically, the board has been all over the place until 2020, when we started doing 90% relief pretty consistently. Up to that point, it was 50%, 25%. At one point, we gave 1,000 cubic feet relief for some reason. I don't know why. But blind leaks are pretty standard at 90%.
Yeah.
I guess one question, this receipt from the plumber says it was for an irrigation, pipe or something. I think generally we don't give relief for irrigation systems. Is that correct? Am I that correctly, or
When you say irrigation, it's a hose.
Yeah.
It's not
not part of like an automatic irrigation
No.
system? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I understood. When I saw that you wrote irrigation, I was like, oh, the board's gonna say, what's that? But that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think, Andrew?
Oh, I'm very mixed about relief, because if I leave my hot tub on when I go on vacation, I don't get a relief from PG&E. My electrical, it's like a mistake that you make, I think. But I think if it's a blind relief or a blind leak, you can't really see it. I'm more amenable to it, but I would say like I'm more in 50% world.
I would add to that, I appreciated the memo that we got from staff, especially the end of it, sort of spelling out what the different tiers of relief mean in dollars and cents, which I think is very helpful.
You can thank Kirsten for that because she asks for it every time, so we have anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you say, Kirsten?
Yeah, I mean, I think to build upon maybe what Andrew has already said, and also feeling like our staff reacted quickly, put some time and effort into it. I'm more inclined to be on the 75% to the 50 to 75%.
All right. Well, it sounds like a consensus would be 75%, so I would go with that also. The dollar difference between 90% and 75% is $56. So we're not talking about a lot either way.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, it's our leak.
Yeah.
But I do think it is a blind leak, and
maybe
you should have a consistent policy about what you do with blind leaks.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Unfortunately, we don't have a consistent policy. There's a lot of discretion. And like Kirsten said, it did involve staff time, and and 90% relief basically doubles the water bill, an average water bill, so it doesn't feel like, I don't know, that any lesson will be learned there in a way. If that makes sense. So
Lesson to whom?
Yeah.
To
the community.
the community, yeah,
It is.
yeah, to the community.
Well, what's the lesson? Because if it's a blind leak, there's nothing to know about.
Well, there are ways to know about leaks. You can install systems that tell you if you have a leak, even if it's a blind leak.
Saying if you're gonna message that to the community, you should probably say that.
Yeah, we say it every time we have these hearings.
Everyone who comes to us, we always tell them the same
In the
thing.
future, if you're making a policy that says it's not gonna be 90% for blind leaks, but it's gonna be 75 because there is no such thing as a blind leak because you can actually do something about a blind leak.
Well, when we make a policy, we'll make sure to clarify. Yeah.
I mean, you're doing it right now, because you're doing it 75 and 70.
Well, we could go to 90.
I'm not really criticizing it, I'm just saying to be consistent.
Yeah. Well, let's see if we can get a motion that's seconded and we'll see what happens. Anybody want to make a motion on what kind of relief to grant?
I think to be consistent, we should grant 90% relief.
All right.
Even though I say that reluctantly,
Okay.
but I think in the interest of being consistent, with the past decisions of the last 6 years, that's what we should do.
Thank you for doing that legwork, based on being consistent. I second that.
You will? Okay, so it's moved and seconded for 90% relief. Is that right?
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. There you go.
I appreciate that for my client, obviously I'm advocating for that, but I would just say to your point, I think 75 is an appropriate thing to do, but I would broadcast it and say that blind leaks are not 90, they're 75, and that you encourage the community to get the flume device or check their pipes, or like, for example, I went out there and I looked at the box and I saw that it was just going the slightest amount. I don't know that everybody knows that you can go check your meter every once in a while.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that we've discussed this a lot lately. Part of it is that we have this automated meter pilot happening right now. So it just feels like a little premature because ultimately if we have automated meters and people have the customer has a portal that they can look at, then they'll know, and we don't want to make people invest in getting a flume device. And so we're just right at this point where we all recognize that it's a little bit of a mess in terms of the policy, but it feels premature because ultimately if we've invested in automated meters and now everybody can keep an eye on their own consumption, then basically we could really do away with this leak relief policy and revamp it with something else. And so that's really the context of why these guys are recognizing that things are a little bit messy, but not afraid that we should clean it up quite
I
yet.
think we are in transition to a better system. Yeah.
Well, thank you, appreciate it.
All right.
Great.
You got it. Thank you. On to item 5, resolution 2026-4, directors' choices for determining fiscal 26-27 appropriations limit. This is required every year.
Yep.
Or how much we will appropriate under the Constitution.
Yep,
So-
so we have remember, this is always 2 paired resolutions. The first one describes the method.
Yeah.
And then the second one is actually the calculation. So you could probably just approve the 2 of them together.
All right.
This
Does
is
any-
6 and 7.
Okay, and so I'll call item 6 as well, which is 2026-5, which actually declares the district appropriations limit for fiscal 26-27, which is 320,000, 2,000.
Oh, yeah.
Up, typo.
This was my comment.
Oh, yeah. That's,
What's the number supposed to be?
it's 3 million. No, it's, get rid of one of those zeros.
Which one? Oh, the one with the zero.
204.
$320,200.
$204.
And $204.37, which is the appropriations limit, how much we can appropriate based on how much we collect. So, can I get a motion for both resolutions?
I so move.
For a second,
I'll second it with that amendment.
as amended, thank you, yeah. All in favor? Aye. Going up to item 7 right now.
Yeah, and then these other ones are actually paired as well, I would say.
Okay.
The first one is the actual passage of the budget.
Yeah,
And then the next one will be the rates described therein. But I think we should first approve or not approve the budget, and then we can move on to 8 or
Oh.
sorry 7.
oh, okay,
So that was my question. Do we need to approve the rates first and then the budget?
No, it's the
No,
opposite.
it's
You need to approve the
first
budget.
And then the
Mhm.
rates. Okay. So just go in order, 7 and then 8.
so resolution 2026 6 is to approve fiscal year 26-27 district budget.
That's yep.
Okay.
That's 7. That's item 7,
Yeah.
and then I think this is an appropriate time for you to read your protest letter.
Oh, can I just speak to it rather than read?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we've read the letter.
Oh, yeah, I didn't, and I don't have a copy of it, so.
Uh,
But I, so first of all, I was a little taken back by that 165% increase. That just was surprising to me. But then I thought about it more, and I realized there's trying to bridge a budget gap. So I'm sympathetic to that. But I also, though, think of the fairness of that I have a permitted system, that I have to have it inspected every year, that I have to pay the county $500, and my neighbors do not have a permitted system and don't have to go through any of this rigging. And I've got to believe that the majority of the septic systems on the uptown of the Mesa are not permitted systems. So I think there's a fundamental, it doesn't feel right, and it doesn't feel fair. And I think to have this across the board increase when I'm doing something that my neighbor's not required to do, I think there should be an adjustment or recognition. I think it's possible because all of the septic systems on the Mesa that give these letters, these inspection reports, are in the EHS file. So we know exactly which addresses have permanent systems and which don't. And you could give a break for this septic drainage service for those who are assuming this burden, for the health of the septic systems that we're carrying. So that's
I appreciated the depth of in your letter and that insight because I wonder if it's only to newly permitted. I feel like EHS has implemented this annual review, which I find is quite laborious. It comes up.
I find it absurd because
And
my
it's
system was
expensive.
brand new in 2021, and all of a sudden I have to do an inspection every year of a brand new system.
But
That's arguing with the county. And if this fee ostensibly is to, as you put it here, improve on-site wastewater system performance, that's irrelevant to me. I shouldn't be paying this fee to BPUD to do that because I'm already doing that and I'm paying for that and I'm reporting it to the county. So there was an inequity here. So I just asked for it to be considered.
But could we do that for, because it's not, I don't think it's for people who are all permitted. I think it's just a new fee and annual service for newly permitted.
I could find that out.
You're talking about the EHS?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very.
It's several years old.
In mine was 2021.
Yeah, it's like 10 years old. I think they've been doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that this is really wrapped up into the whole lamp thing, though, that they're going through, because basically, I mean, I'm pretty sure if EHS was here, they would really appreciate that we have effectively a mandate that occurred in the 80s in terms of this program and ensuring that the water tables are low enough for septics to function well. And that mandate, like, just to let you know, when it first was instituted, it was $140 a parcel, or per meter. And so in real dollars, that's the same amount as what we're proposing here. So when you look at, and I prepared this, and I would, encourage you to look at this, the fee associated with the septic drainage program is all over the place. And what I would intimate is that basically anytime the general manager is trying to actually implement the program and have enough money to actually carry out that mandate, they go back up to what we're proposing right now. So you can see when it was first instated, it was 140. You can see when Jennifer comes, it starts to dwindle because they basically are, not undertaking that work for whatever reason. And then you can see Jennifer comes on board and she reinstates it up to that higher level and tries to, conduct that work. And maybe there's not enough staffing to do it. I'm not really sure, but basically you see the number go back down. And what I'm trying to do again, and maybe I'll go through that same process and bring it back down when I see that we don't have enough staffing. But when I look back through the regulatory records, it's like our mandate to do this thing. I would say the other thing is, while it is ostensibly for managing that, the drainage on the gridded mesa, there's all kinds of work that we do related to gridded mesa road work that's independent of basically the water work, water directly, the water related system. And it's very helpful to have at least some nominal resources to support that work. So whether it's basically, ensuring that some of these roads are passable, dealing with, obviously the drainage work directly, but even, disputes that neighbors are having around this, that's like basically the Wild West out on the gridded mesa. And we get a lot of our time is basically drawn into that work. And so, again, I agree with you. It really is around the main purpose of it is to ensure that the water table is lower so that these septic systems are working better. I think though, from EHS's standpoint, they would be very encouraging of that work, even in the context of new septic systems, because generally all of these things work better when the the water table is lower. And obviously, it's I feel like sorry for you, because I think there are efforts that are going to be undertaken with the LAMP, which maybe are not requiring these really rigorous elevated mound systems. And what they're trying to do is allow for smaller systems that are less expensive. And that's really going to require that then the groundwater level is lower, the water table is lower. So in as much as I was really sympathetic to your letter, I think it is very rational. I would suggest that that's probably more appropriate for me to bring this concern to the county around the equity of, these fees, and basically bringing that up in the context of the LAMP, which is basically a revamping of all of this. And hey, is it really appropriate for the systems that we know are working best in our community to require them to have annual inspection
by an outside third party? So I
Yeah.
have to pay for these guys to come and do this.
Yeah. And so I'm
I would
very
like to be
sympathetic,
actually-
but I think that I would not encourage the board to try to introduce what would be exemptions to our septic drainage fee. I would also say that in the context of the 163%, it's less than we're proposing for, part of it is that the level, the amount was really low. And I would say artificially low, because it's basically been so low that it can't actually support the work that we're supposed to be doing. So in real dollars, I can't remember the exact amount, but it's 100 and it's 30.
200 and
The increase is like from 80 to 210. Yeah.
And I would say, to add to that, the budget that we are hopefully about to adopt, I looked at it in the septic drainage. Last year, we drew on about $30,000 from reserves to cover some of this work, the septic drainage roads work. So this is a correction to try to balance the budget, essentially, because we can't keep drawing on reserves to do this work. So that's, it feels like a big increase, but like Georgia said, it's been going down or stagnating for many years. So this is just trying to bring it back up.
Yeah, and that was basically, that reserve was built like over that time that I was talking about, where essentially the money was collected, the work was not being done, it was filling a reserve. And then last year, when we started doing all of this, taking that work more seriously, we were drawing on reserves. And now we're basically at a point where it wouldn't be fiscally responsible to do that again. That basically allowed us to cushion the increase from what was, I don't remember, because we did a big increase last year on it to even get to $80. I think it was down to $30.
Maybe it was 40, yeah, I think we maybe doubled it from 40 to 80 or something like
Yeah,
that.
really low.
Yeah, very low. So
Basically, by getting a permit for your new septic system, you are penalized.
Yes.
By the county.
I think that's where the rub is for, and other people who are in the same boat with you.
You did
Those
the right
inspection fees are BS.
Well, they're
Yeah.
total BS,
Yeah.
and so I would love to be part of the LAMP, or because
Yeah.
you know, getting permits, getting it, EHS getting their arbitrary and without any sort of thoughtful guidance, it's a mess.
Yeah.
But I think though, in these inspections that I have, there's, you know, pipes below my system that they take to make sure there's no drainage.
Yeah.
So this is why I feel that this isn't fair in a way to those of us who are doing this and have this burden.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think that if I mean, I don't know your particular system, so I think that if drainage was really poor, you could fail that test, but I don't know if that's the
But
case.
then I would fail the report and I would have to address that by my permit, I have to pass.
No, I know, but our program could help ensure that you're passing,
They
right?
might lower, our
So-
drainage program might lower the water table.
The most helpful argument is, let's float everyone's boat, you know, this is for the good of the community,
Yeah.
even though you're being penalized.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what I think it is.
But I think
Yeah,
also
yeah,
there's,
yeah.
you could make the same argument to the county too, around, hey, I don't wanna pay this because I'm paying this septic drainage fee to basically ensure that the water table here is low, to make sure that my system functions better. So don't make me, you know, like you can play that angle with either agency. I think for us, it's like, ultimately, you know, we're not making you go out and pay somebody, we're taking that money and doing that work. And in as much as that work will, you know, serve broadly the drainage on your property, like, you know, there are other reasons that you might want your property to drain besides just your, you know, septic system.
Well, I mean, I think I'm just representing all the other people who are also doing this, you
Yeah.
know, as part of the
Yeah.
county requirements. So, you know, in representing those, but anyway, I've said my piece, I
Yeah.
gave you this.
I think your grievance is legit, but I don't know that we should be the ones that are hearing it as much as the county. I think that those inspection fees are full of baloney. I've had a lot of clients over the years that really gripe about having to pay them because they're really not fair, and a lot of them,
Brand new system.
people, and some of them, the people do their own inspections. They don't even hire somebody. They can sign a paper saying I did it, you know? And it's just it's a joke.
No, you can't, I mean, one of the requirements
Yeah,
is that
well,
it has to be a certified, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe what we could do is in-house figure out how to get that certification so that we're able to provide that service
Yes.
at a much more reasonable
Yeah,
rate.
Yeah.
I would save $1,000.
That would be so great.
Yeah.
we'll do it for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll do it for how much?
Nine-
You'll do it for this fee. That would be $9.
Yeah.
Nine-
And most of the septic systems are failing have less to do with the inspection and the topography of where they sit. Because if they're sitting in one of those low-lying places, the water table comes right up on them. And if you got a slope in your backyard, then you don't have the problem at all, you know?
Yeah, no, and I do think that when the lamp is energized and taking the county, I do think earnestly they're trying to exactly prevent this, to try to get more people to basically permit their systems, and to do that because of people's, you know, some people don't even have the money to effectively put in those permitted systems. They're gonna have to create systems that are less expensive. And that means that, you know, potentially those systems are gonna really require that we really augment our septic drainage program and really ensure that, you know, ditches and culverts and all of that are in place to make sure people's properties are draining properly.
Yeah. Anyway, we're sympathetic, but I don't know how we're gonna change our budget. Yeah,
I think this conversation is really important, so I appreciate the fact that you have initiated here. I do have a question, way back in the nineties, when I was on the board, we did have a real major engineering, system drawn up for drainage on the Mesa. Is that what you're following?
Yeah, the Todd drainage plan.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's still.
Yeah,
what
and
we're
I
going
mean,
at.
I just use this opportunity to let folks know there's 3 drainage projects that if you are directly impacted, we sent out letters. One over at the end of Cedar, one by you, Jenny, on Walnut, and we're putting, we're basically, I mean, as many of you probably know, we're just about to get to, we're getting very short staffed, and that was our hope to do all of these projects. And they're still in the works, but we were pretty excited to, do some of this drainage work and let people see, their tax dollars at work. And hopefully those get done over the next couple of months, but we just basically.
I guess what would be really helpful for people to understand and maybe accept this raise in cost, which is pretty significant, it's not a small amount, is to at some point have that plan be made available so people know what this is about. So
Yeah, it's on the website.
yes,
Right.
and also to do as I have asked for before is to have that pardon me, that and maybe tie this into what closed the beach. I don't know. This may be something that we can say, well, if we do this, then it will keep our beaches from having this water situation that's contaminated. But also I think to let people know every time someone changes residence, that they do need to have their septic tank pumped at least every 3 years. And give a couple of choices of who to call to do that. Because that would make a really big difference too. It would, for the good of the basic whole residents.
Yes.
And I think that your point is very well made, that is, that fee that you're paying is really outrageous. And those systems, in my opinion, and I know anarchist that I am, but it does seem unnecessary to have that sort of a system that requires electricity all the time, so you're pumping uphill. That's kind of really doesn't, it's
Well, the
against.
cost of the system was astronomical.
Yeah, and it's
Anyway.
unnecessary. So anyway, if we could really get that put out there to people, I think we wouldn't really need those kinds of things. And I'm so sorry that you're suffering.
But again, LAMP, I support you 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope you get involved because I think your voice would really, make a difference as somebody who's actually jumped through the hoops and done it the right way.
That's what we're trying to do on the Tashara Ranch and talking to some septic consultants, they won't even work with us because of the problems with EHS. And they say you can't get anything through, and then therefore it's gonna just be more expensive. So there's a real issue.
Yeah.
It totally is.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well,
Ready
you
to
sign that letter?
Yeah, no, I
Oh,
could
yeah.
have just done that.
No, it's a much better discussion.
Wendy has her hand up, by the way.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Thanks. I know this particular fee doesn't impact me personally, but and I appreciate the equity issues, and I also appreciate that in general, your fees are what we pay for what you do is way, way cheaper than so many other utilities we have, obviously. But I just wanted to say, equity wise, in general, because there are prices going up all over the place, I just wanted to speak out for anybody who's low income, and just advocate for, in general, low income fees or something in general. I just wanted to speak to that because I know that low income people are being so deeply impacted by everything all over the place. So thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, shall we get a motion then on resolution 2026-6 to approve the district budget for fiscal 26-27?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That takes us to item 8.
Good job, Georgia.
I like the new layout of the budget, by the way. It's very easy to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Resolution 2026-7, approval of the district rates and charges for fiscal year 2026-27.
Okay.
And our rates have gone up now
Mhm.
because the budget is higher. But they still seem pretty low comparatively, especially if you're not a big water user. Did we ever come up with a thing that we would not send out a bill at all if the charge was $5 or less?
You mean the dollar that I get? Well, at least I get mine electronically now.
We had talked about that once. It costs more money to administer the payment.
Well, basically, if people sign up for online billing, that will be the case because they can go paperless and
Yeah.
then we don't have to send out a bill. And then, and as Annie has pointed out to folks, you can always front load so that you minimize the service charges with actually, using your credit card. Anyways, so yeah, so these are the, just as before, I know I talked to you guys about a big revamp of this whole kind of rate sheet that will happen next year, hopefully. Because basically I didn't make any changes, because we kind of came to this late, but just to remind you, there's still this permit fee associated with sewer septage dumping charges, right? That's our only thing on here which doesn't even exist because we don't allow folks to dump their septic waste into the ponds because it basically can shock the ponds. And so yeah, just to remind you guys, this is still the kind of version that we know that is not great, and we hope to readdress some of these fees and services in a future, next year's through a Prop 218 noticing, etc.
Right. Right, can I get a motion then to approve resolution 2026-7?
Make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 9. This is an audit engagement letter from O'Connor and Company to do our audit. Are you pleased with these folks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not pleased that as soon as we finish the audit, it feels like we then have to engage them for the audits.
But if you can use the same company, is it every 3 years?
I believe so, and I think you can maybe even use the same company as long as you use some different party within the
Person
company.
within the company or something?
Yeah, I can't remember. Bell knows.
Yeah. I think it's every 6 to 7 years. And then if they change their principal person, you can swap to another person within the same auditor company
All right.
after 6 or 7 years.
I assume then that staff recommends that we go ahead and
Yes,
sign.
please.
Okay. Is there a motion then to engage O'Connor and Company as the auditors?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Item 10, a second reading of ordinance 2026-03, labor, materials, and equipment costs.
Yeah, we talked about this in depth last time. We did the first reading. I presented a memo for why we were doing this. This is now just the second reading. That ultimately you guys will be approving this ordinance upon the second reading, and then it will become effective within 30 days of its passage.
Okay. Is there any discussion from the board?
Can you just remind us, were there any changes from?
No, you guys didn't. There were no changes from the last time I presented to you. And yeah.
I have a couple of small things. But
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, finish your thought.
Oh, no, that's it. Just
Okay.
I don't remember you guys having any comments last time.
No.
One would be, can we title this, can ordinances have titles? Because in the agenda tonight, it's called labor, materials, and equipment costs, but really it's about reimbursement. So I just think it's helpful to have, since we have so many ordinances and resolutions, I know we're kind of tidying things up and having, numbering them differently, which will help a lot, but searching for something on our website, like having a very
Yeah,
descriptive
so
title,
I mean,
because-
my understanding is this labor, materials, and equipment costs that is basically there, you even call it by an LME.
Okay.
And that means something to people that
Okay.
are in this field in terms of this is how you recoup your costs.
Okay.
So
So
that is-
reimbursement is more like a layperson's term?
I think so. That's at
Okay.
least what I was seeing, is that this labor, materials, and equipment is the kind of shorthand for these types of
Okay.
yeah.
Sounds good to me then.
Okay.
And then quickly on page 2,
Mm-hmm.
let me pull this up here. Items B and F under inspections.
Mm-hmm.
They seem a little redundant. They're about inspections for permits. I'm just wondering if those could be consolidated or if they still need to be separate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they're a little different, but yes, I agree, they could be consolidated. The first one is, more, I would considering them working permits.
Okay.
And then these are basically almost the administrative costs associated with it, is kind of how I'm reading it, right? Because it's a connection permit, a sewer use permit, and encroachment permit. Those are really associated with like filling out paperwork, whereas the other things are basically like, okay, I'm gonna go CCTV your lateral.
Right, okay. Maybe call F district permit related inspections, because those are all BPUD
Okay.
permits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So put the word district in front of it.
I would say so, just to differentiate them a little bit more.
Sure.
Found that a little confusing.
Yeah.
And then as far as page 3, the after hours premium, I'm just curious about the operator schedules. Do we have an operator on duty on Sundays generally, or is that more like a day off for operators and it's an on-call thing?
It's Saturday and Sunday are all on call, so
Okay.
nobody's on duty.
Got it, okay.
And so we do have to pay out for on call. So
Right.
that's the reason for that.
I thought Sundays at double time felt a little excessive, but like almost a holdover of Puritan days or something like.
Okay, I mean, we can change that because the operators have asked for that, and for
Okay.
exactly that reason, that I feel like I don't want to get into Sunday is more special than Saturday.
Yeah.
We've not allowed that, so that would be 1.5, I think. Like, let me just look, or we would say for both. Can you point me to it?
Yeah, page 3.
4.3.
Okay. Yeah, I would just say that we could do that for district holidays.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for a district holiday.
And
Yeah.
a staff labor rate, Monday,
Only Saturdays.
not even in here. So
Yeah.
I think it would basically be for work performed on Saturday or Sundays or
Yeah.
district holidays is the easiest way.
Yeah.
Okay, so weekends and holidays would be at double time, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But then, sorry, what's 1.5? That would be
That,
like outside of 8 to 5, Monday through Friday,
yeah,
Yeah.
excluding state and federal holidays. Okay,
That's correct.
okay. All right,
And yeah.
so,
Go ahead.
okay, and then,
yeah, does that
Yeah.
make sense?
I think so. So we
I mean,
want,
we could make it all 1.5.
Don't we
I mean,
have to
I
change
don't
the MOU then?
No, because this is our reimbursement, it doesn't impact what we
Right.
actually have to pay the employee.
yeah,
So for most cases, for the employees, we have to pay I mean, it depends, right, where we are in their overtime.
What? I mean, they get if they've worked over 8 hours in a day, they get 1.5 up to 12 hours, and then if they're over 12 hours, it's 2 hours, and then if they've worked over 40 hours in a week, they get 1.5 over anything above that. If they're over 12 hours in a day, they get double time. If they're over 8 hours in a day, they get 1.5 time.
But then it is kind of complicated in terms of on-call and call-outs, right? Because they're getting
Yeah.
base rate. So
Right.
that is basically, you're much more likely to get into actually the effective rate is probably 2 times
Okay.
if you're on, you know, a holiday, because they basically get their on-call, call-out, like, minimum.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plus,
So-
and potentially plus 1.5, because they're, you know, often if they're doing workouts, you know, if they're getting
On-call.
call out, then they're overtime.
Okay, I guess I just want to make sure that this covers our costs, right? Because this doesn't really align with what's in the MOU. Like this language is different than what's in the MOU, so
Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to align it to the MOU, I think though we would get into a little bit of quirkiness, because basically our hours are 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the operators, which doesn't seem appropriate because at some level that's not, you know, hours that are applicable to folks out there.
Okay.
And it's also in terms of like administratively, you know, these are costs associated with that. So I'd say it doesn't make sense to align it perfectly to our MOU language, but just to point out, if we did, that's what we would do, 7 to 3. And then we would say 1.5 is probably more appropriate. And we would just say 1.5 for all hours outside of those 7 to 3.
okay. Does that cover our costs though? If there's a big issue on a weekend where we're paying our operators double time for some reason, if they're over their limits?
No, it
But then-
wouldn't cover our costs.
It wouldn't cover our costs.
No, but I mean, right now, yeah, this is, I mean, the whole point of this is basically to get us to something that's closer to covering
Okay,
our costs.
well, maybe we should leave it double time just to cover the cost then. It's, I don't know, what's,
I think we should leave it
okay,
as it is.
As it is, and just on Saturdays,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
okay,
on Saturdays.
Anything else?
sounds good, that's it for me.
Okay. Anyone, got any comments on the rest of it?
No.
No. All right, can I get a motion then to approve the ordinance 2026-03 as amended?
I'll make that motion,
Thank
unless
you.
you want to, okay.
No,
You want to
Thank
second
you
it?
for your diligence.
I will second it, yeah.
Yes, thank you for your diligence on that. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 11. Approve the resignation from interim chief operator Andrew Spalding. And we have his letter of resignation and the binder, and it is effective July 10th. So you want to make a motion to accept this resignation?
What happens if we don't accept it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Keep it simple, I will make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just want to say, I don't know if Andrew's listening, but I just want to thank him for stepping up
Yeah.
to fill this role when we needed him, and I wish him the best in
There you
his
go.
next endeavor.
Yes,
Here.
I would second that.
Yeah.
All right. Item 12. Approval of BCPUD staff MOU for fiscal 2026-2027. Is there anything in particular you wanted to point out? I know that there's some highlighted portions here and there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little more in depth, so I did create a memo for this. So you guys could see what the major points we were trying to make here.
Yeah.
With some highlights of the revisions.
So
Yeah.
lengthy document. So unless somebody has a particular question or correction,
I appreciate the document.
yeah.
I think I had a small thing.
Mhm.
Well, something we talked about employees who attain certifications under our employment and then promptly leave for another job. Is there something you want to put in the MOU about?
I think
that.
that it's too late for us to do that, but I think now we've seen this happen to us twice, and I think we
So
need to
okay,
think
right.
about, other means to retain or recoup costs associated with training. I talk about it a little bit in my manager's report, so maybe we can talk about it then, but yeah, it's too late, I think, because, obviously this was an exhaustive process to go through the negotiations. I think we have a really good process down now where it's effectively folding in the personnel committee to the revisions of the MOU, folding in the finance committee, ultimately bringing this document forward. I mean, I spent a lot of time on it and I'm really happy with The purpose of it, as I see it, is also not just to negotiate these terms with the employees, but it's also for transparency for the public to see what we're spending on all of these different related employee costs. So I think, there's still work to be done, and we'll continue to, iterate.
Okay.
All right.
But thanks for pointing that out.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
something that we have been talking about. We're just not gonna get it.
Yes,
right.
that's all right.
Okay, how about a motion to approve the MOU?
I had one more small, very small. It's on page 10 of the MOU or page 13 of the document.
Okay.
From through page 10, near the top, personal vehicle.
Yeah.
I think you just need to strike the second sentence as of the effective date, the IRS, blah blah blah. But then it says effective January 1st, 2026. So I think that's just an old line from last year that you can strike because we're in that last effective date now.
Okay, so you're saying the second to last sentence.
Second to last sentence, right? As of the effective date, the IRS approved reimbursement of 70 cents, and then the next sentence is really the only one that's applicable.
That's relevant. Yeah, it's that second sentence is not applicable anymore, right?
Right.
So you strike that.
So it just was going to say effective January 1st, the rate's 72.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other?
That's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little awkward actually because it's on the year term, but the MOU is on a July 1 term. So maybe the tense of that is wrong. This is true of other things like our healthcare. There's other things that turn over at the year. And so they weren't reflective of the current MOU, but they're reflective of the future MOU. But the language is a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I mean, I think you tie it to the IRS approved mileage reimbursement. So if that goes up, then doesn't this automatically go up anyway? So
as effective, but I just think that maybe what it should say is effective January, not the rate will increase, the rate has increased.
The rate is
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Can I get a motion in to approve the MOU?
With the edits.
With the edits, yeah.
With that correction.
Yep, I so move.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you for that.
Is that everything we are voting on besides regular meeting? So many past meeting then?
Warrants.
Yeah, right. Just
We're
tell me tonight.
I'm really not.
Do it.
Sorry.
Yeah, we have a quorum without you. It's okay. I know you're not feeling good.
I know.
Yeah.
Not that I want to miss out on your report. I'll call in and listen on that.
You don't have to, but you can listen to the video afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for hosting the great meeting so far.
Okay, I'm just gonna go into the general. And this update. Sorry, a little far away from you guys.
Usually, I'll take care of it. If you want. I know you
I'm just sorry.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, item 13, managers update, and we're off.
You guys see that?
Yep.
All right, so spring 2026 water usage trends. We had water production in May averaged 117 gallons per day per connection. This is down from April production, which averaged 128. Consumption was in May 123 gallons per day. This is down from April's consumption, which was at 127. Comparison of the last couple of Mays, this looks pretty good. We're down 23% compared to May 2025, and even a little bit lower than we were in May 2024. That's not the trend we've been seeing.
I get you why.
Okay.
Okay.
Here is just the supply and demand, basically the production and consumption from another standpoint. And we are at March, April, May, back Mesa. That's the little tranche of meter reads we did right here and added to our graph. Looks like maybe not surprising given what we just saw, a little bit smaller than the previous years. We are almost at the end of the rain year, and we are by the end of May at 28.6 inches of rain. That's below the cumulative total of 32.02 of the historical average by the end of May. So not super far off, but here is the cumulative rainfall comparing the last 3 years. Here's just to remind you what the lower looked like. Oops, why did that happen? We can run both at once. So that's what everything looked like. So it's gonna be pretty big change here. So look and see what it looks like. This is right at when things start to change. Okay, this is today.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're fine, but you can start to see we're getting into the lower flows heading into the summer. Here is the reservoir. That was actually last month. That's what it looks like right now. Sorry that the first pictures aren't lining up that well, but basically you can see the Isola starting to creep. And there's where we're at too.
You know, I was driving past Nicasio Reservoir. I noticed that they have little pockets of Azolla.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never noticed that.
Like if you turn off of, start heading towards the town of Nicasio on the right there, there's like an inlet. There's a whole
Where people fish.
Yeah. And it's starting, and I was wondering what they do about it, because I would assume that.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's just because, it's so much bigger and that particular portion of it is shallower and more stagnant.
Yeah, I just wonder if they have a system for dealing with it.
Yeah, I mean,
and we can find out.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely chemical treatments that are very effective, but as we saw tonight, maybe not the best choice.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, we have had no leaks really to report since I last talked to you. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
We did unfortunately have to pump the clarifier, which is very expensive. And I think that ultimately it was, looking at 25, 26, we spent $22,000 on pumping it. This is basically, just to remind you, during the production of water, we have to effectively what is called backwash the filters. And that backwash, which is, organic material, basically stuff that is, trapped in the filter, including the aluminum coagulation and all of that, gets pumped over to what is called the clarifier. That's a 30,000 gallon tank that ultimately needs to be pumped. I think that there are better ways to manage these coagulation, whatever, this sludge material, and you could do it in a more cost-effective manner. And I think it's something where I just want to reach out to other districts and find out how they do it. I feel like since I've been here, it was pretty haphazard in the way that we approach it. We don't have like a set real protocol for how exactly we do it. We just are like, oh, the clarifier's filling up, we need to pump it. This is the booster line being, as you know, there were 2 phases. One was the repair of the booster line. The other was basically the submerging of the booster line. So this is the second phase where they're burying the line. It's so nice to have this project that ultimately was pretty simple and basically gives me a lot of hope for when we go and change out all of these other lines, and to think of how much time the booster leaking was consuming of staff time, and just recognized that, you know, we had the same thing happening on Cedar and Birch, and just really, those are not difficult projects and we just get them done.
Cool, great.
And in the end, they're not even that expensive, really, when you put it in the context of everything, especially if we're able to do some of that work in-house.
Yeah.
And it was especially relative to the headache.
It'd be cool to like calculate the cost per foot
Mhm.
somehow. Like, just
Yeah.
do the total cost and then see how much distance it was, and then we can kind of map out the mesa.
Yeah, and we do have that like rough approximation. I think it is overestimated though. We had Stetson do that, and that's sitting in our CIP for all of these like projects. I don't know if it was because we thought that we were gonna. Anyway, I would like us to, you know, as you know, on the CIP is basically a pilot study of what does it look like to do this in-house.
Yeah.
I think that this is a broader discussion, but I'm kind of wondering just to basically get off it, like, and actually do it, whether one of the first iterations of those projects, especially since the one that I really like to do is along Cedar and it passes Elm, so we're now getting into a paved road, whether we don't do one project with kind of commissioning Piazza so that we can basically watch them do it, see exactly what it was like, pay for that one, see about, you know, what is the cost associated with going across Elm, what's the easiest, best way, most cost efficient way to do that. And then maybe the guys will feel more emboldened to, you know, okay, we can do that, that's easy, we can, you know, now do Birch ourselves or whatever.
It's cool with Piazza to let us kind of shadow them.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, I mean, that's kind of the nature of how we always work with them. So, I mean, it's not something I've really broached with them. It's just sort of an idea that I'm having around seeing how successful the booster line was and recognizing how little staff time we actually have to devote to these projects, and that it's just in the long run so, you know, maybe even cost effective to just pay somebody to do it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you know, we have a lot of flexibility in the dirt roads, and that we really don't need to pay Piazza to do these projects. But maybe it's just like to see somebody go through it and understand exactly like what it is that we're biting off.
Little flats.
Oh yeah, very cute. This is just continuing with the Wells project. Reiner Mesa Electric did a bunch of electrical work associated with pumps over there. 31 Wharf is moving along. I'm sure you guys have seen all of the work being done down there. Our tank is now up in place. And we're still kind of they're not ready to have us really get up there and be in their way yet. But that project is moving along. The spray season is upon us, as you know. That opened on April 15th, and in fact, we've already emptied our storage ponds. And so we're not spraying right now, as people may notice. Ultimately, the season extends to October 15th. And you know, we may, as those ponds fill again, we may do more spraying later in the season.
Is that normal at this time of year for them to be empty? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's see. There's not much to report here. I continue to work on this.
Sorry, did you skip the automated meter, or did I miss? I saw the photos, but I didn't hear you
Did
talk
I?
about it.
I didn't talk about it. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, we put in some of these, as you know, we got some ultrasonic meters. That's this digitized meter here. You can see the old one and the new one. We basically got a couple of them just to make sure that we were going to not have any issues, and the replacement of those meters went really smoothly. So now we've ordered the additional 18. So we'll get those in any day now. And then this is just basically reiterating the plan that I've already talked to you guys about before. But essentially June, July window is for, you know, opportunity for us to have everything in place. So the first thing is to replace those 20 meters, as I was just talking about. The next thing is basically installing the hardware that actually reads the meters and sends that data to the Amazon sidewalk, and then we will start collecting our data in August, September, October. And
How did you choose the locations for the meters?
oh my gosh, it took so long.
Really?
Just because it turned out like some of our, you mean for the ones that got replaced or what?
Yeah, for the pilot program.
Well, so there's, sorry, and just to remind you guys, there's actually 60 meters in our pilot program. 40 of them are basically modification of existing Badger meters. Those are the wireless pin. So they have less effective transmission, but it's an easily like just adaptation of the meter plate. And then the other ones are the ultrasonic that have the wired pin. So we kind of are testing both those kind of technologies at once. So we have 60 meters in total in the district. We picked them based on wanting, so the 20 meters was based on, hey, we want to swap out these meters. They're old, and so we might as well change them. So some of it was that. The Badger, we have a mixture of meters, as it turns out, and so we had to pick ones that were compatible. And so those were, Badger meters, and then beyond that, we also picked ones that are pains to read. So it was very nuanced in the end, but in the end, we're trying to spatter them so that we'd have basically equal amounts in our 3-meter regions. So
great.
Yep. So at the top of the meeting, or just a little bit ago, you recognize that the interim chief operator submitted their resignation effective July 10th. Just to remind everybody, in case you forgot, this is in the context of our former chief operator submitting their resignation exactly 1 year ago. So it's been pretty painful, I would say, as a district to just see, obviously we are so dependent on our operators, and in particular, I'd say it's very similar in the office, but maybe even more true out in the field. We're really dependent on institutional knowledge. Some of that is that there's not been the best recording of everything. It's really just like training people up. And we're kind of seeing that model fall apart when people leave, right? And not to say that, there's obviously 2 more operators that we love and we really, have a lot of faith in, but it's just so much on those 2 operators to demand that much of them in terms of, just really getting a sense of what it's like working here. It's like you're an emergency doctor, right? You're like having to attend to these leaks in the middle of the night, and to not be fully staffed, and just, recognize, how much is, how much we rely on the well-being and functioning of those operators. It just cannot be overstressed. So just to remind you, there's some implications too of the fact that we're losing our interim chief. As a reminder, BCPUD's water system and sewer facilities are grade 2. This means that we require a chief operator with a grade 2 certification for water treatment, water distribution, and wastewater collection. We estimate that over the 5 years that it takes for us to train up employees to a grade 2 certification in terms of classes, test fees, travel, lodging, etc., the district can expect to pay about $11,000 to $25,000 per employee. We do not currently have any shift operators with a grade 2 certification required for us to run either the water and or wastewater system in compliance. In our recent job applicant pool, we also do not have any applicants with a grade 2 certification we require. That's very typical of how we've generally run. We've trained up people. We basically hire people with no certifications. That's been the history. And then they train up. But I think that model, whether it's just like acutely broken or kind of systemically broken, hard to tell. But we're not in a position, we've never been in a position where we're like, okay, we need somebody with a grade 2 wastewater, water treatment, distribution like that. Doesn't really happen out here. And so the fact that we've been losing employees that have been around for a long time without having somebody else who's been there, for a long period of time and has those certifications is putting us in a pretty tight spot. In our recent, yes, I already said that BCPUD management continues to talk with our water and wastewater regulators and explore possibilities to contract out our operator of record. Because I'm not exactly sure what this is all going to look like when we're out of compliance, like what are our options? And the board and community should be prepared that we may need to increase operator wages in order to retain or hire qualified employees. I mean, we'll know a lot more about that. We're conducting interviews this next week. We have applicants that look promising, but we'll see how that all pans out.
What is that photo in the
This?
Yeah.
Oh, one.
Yeah, but it looks sort of ominous. It's
Yes,
is that,
it is supposed to be ominous.
okay. Is that going out? Is that on the website?
No.
Oh, okay. That's just
a visual to
Okay.
make you like feel bad while I was
Alright.
saying all that sad stuff.
It's working. Alright.
Oh, karma. Yeah, what is it? It's like
It's like
tree or
Nuclear plant.
It looks like the Strait of Hormuz, doesn't it?
okay, another sad picture of Annie
Yeah.
stuffing envelopes, just encouraging folks, please sign up for automated bill
Yeah.
paying. This is we continue to work on this issue. As you know, just to inform the public, we had a closed session around our lease agreement, and we continue to work on that. Oh, and oops, this is the wrong version of this, I'm just realizing. But bear with me for a second.
Sure.
So I did some earlier version of that. Somehow it didn't get on here. Okay, well, anyways, I'm just gonna go to it. It wasn't too exciting. It was just to inform people that we were about to post this message. It's about the terms of 3 BCPUD directors expire this year. If you would like to run for one of these seats in the November 3rd, 2026 election, you must declare your candidacy during the filing period. So basically, as we do when, every other year when elections come up, we'll post this notice on Nextdoor and in the hearsay and whatever other channels you guys would like us to use.
Your website.
Yeah, the website. And then
Do we have those deadlines yet?
those are the accurate deadlines right here.
July or August, is that what it usually is?
The filing period
Yeah.
opens July 13th, closes August 7th.
Unless
Unless
one of the incumbents doesn't re-up and it's extended another 6 days or something.
yes, if either of the two, it's supposed to be 3 BCPUD directors decide not to run, the filing period for non-incumbents only will be extended through August 12th.
So
does the office do that for the candidates or do
No, the candidates have to do that themselves. And finally, here's some more wildlife at the BCPUD. This is just some little baby birds that hatched that Sean took a picture of. All right.
Right.
Thanks, Georgia.
Yeah. Moving on, special reports, 14 we've done.
Actually, real quick question for you, Georgia. Do you know what's going on in the Mesa Park parking lot? There's a bunch of grading. Is that something it's on the other side of the parking lot from our water tanks?
No, I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's like a fence.
Yeah, they got a fence off. I'm just
And you
curious if
put
that was
toilet in
something
there.
that we were doing or if that's a Mesa Park thing.
No, maybe I know that they've been allowing construction and contractors to use the space, and maybe related to something like that.
Okay.
I think they got some dirt, they maybe might be configuring what, I don't know, but they've got some dirt that they're using to fill in some low areas, so they can be just put up there that are for climbing, for the kids to be able to climb.
Right.
I don't know that that's it,
Okay,
but that's
alright.
something like that.
Okay, thanks.
Item 16, we've already done 14 and 15.
Are you
Update
gonna
on,
rehash 14?
excuse me,
No.
do you want to do it again?
Yeah.
Okay. Item 16, update on resource recovery. Anything?
You see the memo in the board books, and just generally we're currently along with the other hiring that we're trying to do for BPUD operators, we're looking to hire for Greg's position and to kind of take a little load off of Joe, who's been working really hard down there. So that is going to happen hopefully soon. We've got a couple of people, but I've got to haven't. Anyway, we're still doing the collecting of applications part of that. And then we had the grind, which was very uneventful and worked really well this time around. Don Murch has been helping us move the compost piles because they have to be turned on a regular basis after the grind. So he's been super helpful in helping us keep the site kind of running with the tractor work. And I just wanted to note also for people, and I'll try and put something on Nextdoor, that because Joe is the only employee down there, he's been having him like some personal appointments and things that he has to take kind of on various days in the afternoon. So our hours have been a little funky lately. He's had to close outside of normal hours, and I just want people to know we're hoping to hire someone, and we'll get more people down there and be able to get back to normal hours. And and then Stuart did a new sign. We repainted the RRP sign, and want to send out an appreciation to Stuart for making a nice sign again.
All right, thank you, Val.
Mhm.
Okay, item 17. Are we doing any of these or?
We could give a quick update on the building ad hoc committee. We've met, but we could also just defer that to next time.
Okay, Canyon Road,
Nope.
nothing. Bike permit path, no.
No,
Electrification committee,
nothing from them.
okay. Personnel,
Nope,
no. Finance committee,
nope,
legal committee,
nope,
Mesa Septic Flood Control Roads.
nope.
I will just say somewhat related. I attended another Marin County Sea Level Rise meeting
Oh,
at the
yeah.
end of May,
Mhm.
and it was kind of just an introduction to this new Marin climate scientist or climate officer is her title is. Her name's Nadia. So it was just like kind of an introduction. And Marin, the MCF is kind of thinking that they can help with West Marin issues, which seems a little overreach, but I guess it's a little bit positive because they're at least acknowledging that there are issues. But it's slow. It's going slow for us. So yeah,
All right.
we're working on it, and they're kind of reassessing where things are with the committee.
Okay, but the sea is rising.
It seems so. Yeah.
All right, moves on to the minutes of the regular meeting, May 20th, 2026. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes?
Not for me.
No, not for me either.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve them?
I move to approve the
Thank
May
you.
minute.
All right. Just a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Takes us to item 26, which is the warrants for the month of May. Any questions or corrections, changes?
Not for me.
Okay,
That's good.
can we get a motion to approve them?
So moved.
1 second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Incoming correspondence, I don't know if we have any of that. Materials to be signed. Future agenda items, I don't know if we talked about any tonight. In the next meeting
Can the
date,
public ask for something?
yeah, what do you want?
Then we had a little discussion out front about signs for traffic, and I know people hate to do signs and believers, but areas that have become very dangerous where people just taking curves really fast. My particular interest is the intersection of Grove and Alder, the way people take that corner, and now there are more people using Alder as a through street. So I was hoping we could maybe do a yield sign or something there at Grove where it meets Alder, so people can just come flying around
Yeah,
Alder. So
Cut that corner too.
Yeah.
everybody cuts it.
yeah, so
That's those are county maintained roads. They might be willing to put up a sign.
Yeah, so I didn't know what the procedure is, whether it had to go through you guys, because one is a dirt road, all they're going.
Well, the one that everybody cuts is Grove is paved, and then they turn left onto Alder, which is paved.
Yeah, but the other side of Alder, see, Alder's just through the street, and
Yeah.
that's, so I didn't know whether that needed to be something coordinated between the BCPUD and the county, because it's a half dirt road, half paved road, and who actually has the right of way. I thought the through road did, but maybe it's the paved road that's, anyway, I didn't know the procedure for doing that, whether that was something that would be on your road on drainage plan.
Ask Department of Public Works, who would yield? The people on Grove?
Well, I think Grove would yield because that's where they come flying around really fast, and also the others are through road, so that's,
Well,
but
you
I.
keep going on Grove Street also, they're both, you go down by,
Okay, I thought that was more private now, where Grove is across Alder. It's kind of more of a private
Yes, normally
watch out.
3.
or something, anyway,
Yeah.
maybe it's
There's a
something.
roundabout in there.
There you go.
You guys are the best.
Yeah,
there you go.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you
Good
for
night.
everything.
next
Great.
meeting date, July what?
15.
July 15. Meeting adjourned.
Quickly, it was July 4th. All right, and thank you, Belle.
Thanks, Belle.
Yeah.
Safe travels.
Thanks. Thanks. I'll still be here for a few, but all right.
Can you stop the recording?
I think so.
I think Alaska.
Stop recording.